So we are finally ready now. The much anticipated matchup between the Oakland Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Super Bowl 37. The guys have been out on the field, John, for about 25 minutes to begin with.
You know, and I think both these coaches know that, and both the teams know it. I know I was talking to some of the coaches on the field before, and the thing that they told both their teams is don't pull your switch too soon. In other words, don't come out here like an hour ago all fired up, because they know that they were going to have to go through this, and I think they've planned for it and they're ready for it.
Sebastian Janikowski was their #1 draft choice. The Raiders picking a kicker. #1 in 2000, back deep, Aaron Stecker, and he'll be joined by Dwight Smith. It's obligatory, of course, every time you do a Tampa Bay Buccaneer game to say never in the history of the franchise, which started in '76 as this team returned a kickoff for a touchdown.
Jon Gruden was saying yesterday that, you know, we've erased a lot of those things that we've never done before. The cold weather, the playoff game on the road, and maybe this is another one.
The ball in the air, the soft air on this beautiful Sunday, and Aaron Stecker takes the kick and brings it back to the 26-yard line. Yeah, so here they go as they bunch to the right, then send Alstott in motion. And Johnson throws to Alstott on the outside. He's taken down at the 30-yard line after a gain of 3. Charles Woodson makes the tackle. And Brad Johnson, who's been in the league since he was drafted by the Vikings in '92, John, as was the case last week, they're going without a huddle on the opening drive.
That's the thing that Jon Gruden wants to do. Brad Johnson likes to play like this, and what they want to do is control the tempo and change the pace of the game, although this is the second play of the game.
On 2nd down and 6, they hand the ball off to Pittman through the middle for a gain of 1 to the 31-yard line. So Gruden going to the no huddle. If either team would have gone no huddle, we would have said Oakland, because they do it a lot. They dictated the pace last week against Tennessee. But Gruden, who's on the mic, he calls the plays in directly to Johnson, goes to it at the outset. Now he has him huddle again.
Well, you know, last week they did the same thing. In fact, both of these teams started the game with no huddle.
Third down and 5 now from the 31-yard line. Jurevicius in motion. And Johnson looking left and lofting it to the right, and it's picked off by Charles Woodson. An easy pick, and Woodson sets Oakland up in Tampa Bay territory.
And this was a big thing. We talked about Brad Johnson if he gets time. Brad Johnson is not a mobile quarterback, so he's going to be a sitting target there. And you're going to see Reagan Upshaw is going to hit Brad Johnson just as he throws the ball. Watch Reagan Upshaw right here. You see he takes an inside move, then he gets a push, and he hits Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson was a cover 2, and he didn't get anything on this. You see he throws it a little short, and Charles Woodson was right there.
And Charles Woodson playing with a plate in his leg, who missed a lot of time during the regular season, and a guy they figured to pick on, picked only 1 during the regular year. So the interception, the Raiders in good shape right off the bat. At the 36-yard line as Gannon slings it to the outside, and Garner is wide open, and 125 is taken down by the other tackle there by Brian Kelly. Now the Raiders last week opened up in no huddle, but Rich Gannon, the league MVP, saying let's huddle up right here.
I think it's the same thing, and you know that they like to control the pace, and as Bill Callahan says, he said we'll go in and out of that. Anytime that we feel that we're on a roll, we're going to stay with it, stay with that roll.
2nd and 2, at least for the next 20 minutes or so. The Raiders on the sunny side of the field, so all of the coaches will have to shade their eyes as Gannon fakes right and then throws incomplete over the middle. And it'll be 3rd down. 3rd and 2, and then Gannon looking over to the sideline. Gannon will look over to the sideline a lot. He will signal to the bench a lot. He wants to know what personnel grouping am I going to get? What play am I going to get? And he likes it with alacrity.
Right, he likes Mark Trestman to get the personnel to him right away so he can get that called and then get the play to him quickly so he can get up to the line of scrimmage with more time.
From the 28 on 3rd and 2, Gannon to Brown. And that's a 1st down at the 20-yard line. Dwight Smith makes the tackle, the nickel back, and he'll play most of the game today.
Yeah, and that's because the Raiders are playing 3 wide receivers, So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing their nickel. Rondé Barber, the right corner, goes in, and he plays on the slot. And Dwight Smith is a corner that plays on the right side. And that's the side that they're going to look through with 3 wide receivers.
From the 19-yard line to the ground now to Garner. And let's take a look quickly at the Raider offense. 2nd down and 9 now at the 18-yard line. Gannon setting up, moving out, and then is taken down at the 16-yard line, caught by the defensive end, Greg Spires. 3rd down and 7 now. Gannon facing a 4-man rush, but that's enough as Simeon Rice comes into second.
You know, in the play before that, it was Greg Spires that put the pressure on Rich Gannon. This time here, it's Simeon Rice on Barry Sims, and you're going to see him. He'll beat him to the inside. Now, you're always worried about that speed guy going to the outside. See, so he starts outside, Sims steps outside, and then Simeon Rice comes right inside, and he's right on Rich Gannon.
Now a 40-yard attempt by Janikowski. Shane Leckler to hold, and Janikowski scores the first points of Super Bowl 37.
The Buccaneers, that was a heck of a stand down there. And their speed showed when Gannon tried to run. And then, of course, the Raider got the big pass rush on Brad Johnson.
Janikowski's second kickoff of the day. It's Aaron Stecker out past the 20. And the backup running back puts the ball down on the ground at the 30-yard line. And I'm looking to see if there's any indication yet that it was down. It's Eric Johnson who comes up with it. And there has been no signal yet from Bill Carollo or his crew as to whether his knee was down. And now they're going to say it's a fumble, and it wasn't. And for the moment anyway, pending a look at the replay and a possible challenge, obviously, it would be Oakland ball. Here it is.
You see, Aaron Stecker goes down. His knee was down before the ball came out. In fact, he's trying to extend it. You see, the knee is down, and the ball doesn't come out until he hits it with the ground, or he hits the ground with it. See, the knee is down right there, and right there the ball is down. So this is one of those plays that they call Raiders ball, but they will give this one back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No question, on a clear-cut call, they're going to look at it. The only downside here for
Tampa Bay
and I'll
is
tell you in a
challenging
second.
the ruling on the field. That was a fumble. We'll review the play.
See, one of the things I think they're a little agonized about is you only get 2 challenges for the entire game. And so you're forced in a situation where you know they're going to overturn it, and clearly it's important and you have to do it, but now you're forced to use one of those challenges.
Yeah, but at least in using that challenge, if you win the challenge, what they will, you get the ball back. I mean, if you didn't challenge, then they gave this ball to the Raiders. They said it was a fumble and it was a Raiders ball, but you can see Stecker's knee was down well before that ball hit the ground.
I would think on the Tampa Bay side there'd be some consternation that since this is so obvious that they'd be a little miffed that the officials didn't get it right the first time.
Yeah, and that's the thing that goes back to this same thing of all-star officials. And I think, you know, all year they work as crews, and then when we get in the playoffs, the championship, and the Super Bowl, they take the officials that graded the best. In other words, Bill Carollo is our referee. He was the referee that graded the best all year. And these guys grade the best all year as individuals, but have never worked as a team or a crew. And I think that's a mistake, and I would bet in the next year or so that will be changed.
After reviewing the play, it's been determined that the runner is down by contact. Tampa Bay will kick the ball. 1st and 10 at the 29-yard line. Tampa Bay is now charged a timeout.
I think Aaron Stecker was saying the same thing that you were saying. How baloney, you should have called it that way in the first place.
Absolutely, and all of the Bucs were angry when they came off the field, as if to say, you know what, that's an easy call. And it might not matter, but then again, you only have one more challenge the rest of the way.
And that's why instant replay was initially put in, to right a wrong. There was a wrong, and then it was righted.
From the 29 now, the Bucs' second possession beginning. Johnson throwing over the middle, and that pass is caught by Joe Jurevicius out to the 40-yard line. He's taken down by the middle linebacker, the rookie out of Northwestern, Napoleon Harris.
Yeah, it was interesting when we were talking to Chuck Bresnahan the other day and talking about the wide receivers of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he was as worried about Joe Jurevicius as any other receivers.
He made the big play last week. The 71-yard reception, his only catch against Philadelphia. That's 11 yards of first down, and with no huddle here and an empty backfield, the pass is juggled and then dropped by Pittman and almost into the arms of Keyshawn Johnson. Second down.
Don't you feel that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a little jittery?
Yes.
I mean, even though that fumble wasn't a fumble, they go back to pass and Brad Johnson gets hit and the ball flops up in the air and Charles Woodson gets it. And here they look like, he's making throws and they're not ready yet. And, I think Jon Gruden is trying to make this a fast-paced game, and maybe his team isn't ready yet to get in a fast-paced mode.
Second down and 10. Yeah, it's kind of a jumpy, stuttering start to the game. With 5 minutes having elapsed on second down, Johnson lofting one and lofting it way out of bounds. And he's way off the mark and gives us a chance to take a look at the Oakland defense. Here's Charles Woodson, Torrey James, each playing with a plate in their lower leg. Third down and 10. Deep drop, Johnson has time, throws, caught on the run by Jurevicius. And he's finally taken down inside the 40 at the 37 by the linebacker, Travion Smith.
Maybe the Raiders knew something when Chuck Bresnahan, the defensive coordinator, said, this is the guy that I worry about. Again, here's Joe Jurevicius here, and you're going to see him come on across. See, he starts up, comes right across. The linebacker's waiting for him. He gets right across in front of his face, and right as he gets across there, Brad Johnson has that ball ready and gives it to him.
23-yard gain on a third and 10. Now a toss to Pittman, who came over from the Cardinals, who breaks one. And he's finally bumped out of bounds by Rod Woodson. Good block by Alstott. What else is new?
Well, that was a very good block by Mike Alstott. And that's it. You have your lineman, and then you have your fullback. They always say that Alstott isn't a true fullback. But on this play, he's a true fullback. He's playing a fullback position, and watch his lead and block. Boom, right there. And Pittman is right in behind him and breaks right off that block. Watch how Mike Alstott, number 40, times this block. I mean, he has him there, and just as he gets there, he looks like he's going to go out, and then boom, he goes down and cuts the knees.
That's a 23-yard gain. So back-to-back 23-yard gains. Aaron Stecker is now in the backfield behind Alstott, the fake. And Johnson blasted as he throws, and it's incomplete. That's Napoleon Harris. We mentioned before, a rookie picked in the first round out of Northwestern, and he's done a great job starting this season.
And that's the thing that has to bother Jon Gruden, because every pass that he has, the most important thing to him is pass protection. He wants to get the thing protected. There it is from Skycam, and you can see what Brad Johnson is seeing, and you know why he had to get rid of that ball, because Harris was coming right on him. A little delayed blitz.
Stecker stays in, second down and 10 from the 14-yard line. Stecker swinging to the outside, then turns it back, and he'll be ridden down by the outside linebacker, Eric Barton.
That's a great shot when you get a linebacker and he makes a tough tackle like that right at the line of scrimmage and gets up and pulls a divot out of his head. And that's football on real grass and a beautiful day. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better for the biggest game of the year than in a place like this on a day like this.
I know what I said. The scariest thing all week was the commissioner saying there might not be another game here if they don't build a new stadium. They should move it here permanently.
What's he thinking?
Third down and 9 from the 13-yard line. The pass is swung out to Pittman, but through his hands and incomplete. So they have a 23-yard gain on third and 10, then another 23, and then they bog down, and here comes Gramatica to try to tie the game.
Yeah, that was a good call on the defense by blitzing Napoleon Harris, and that's the one that made Brad Johnson get rid of the ball when he didn't want to, and then he gets in long yardage. Even had he completed that pass, they still would have had to try the field goal here. 31-yard
attempt. Both teams with excellent kickers. Janikowski on one side, Martin Gramatica on the other. Tom Tupa to hold. Ryan Benjamin to snap it. From 31, that one is good. Romo trying for that 5th ring, 2 as a Niner, 2 as a Bronco, and then he left Denver, found a home in Oakland, and here he is in the Super Bowl again. So 3-3 with Gramatica to send it down in the direction of Marcus Knight. And it's a bouncing ball fielded by Knight at the 8. And he's rolled out of bounds up near the 30-yard line. So the game is on a spectacular Sunday. And the field almost encased in shadow now. Started out half and half. You can see where the line is as the Raiders start from the 30-yard line, and Gannon has protection over the middle, hits Garner. He's tackled by Brooks. And John, what about the change at center? What's going to happen with True replacing Robbins here?
You know, Adam True's not a stiff. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, started 14 games at center for the Raiders last year. He's a good player. He's not as big or as strong as Robbins, but he's quicker. And, you know, and he gets to his blocks and he gets to that second level. He gets to the linebackers real well. He's good on screen. So this isn't a big drop-off between these two.
Second down and 4. They go split backs with Garner and Ritchie. Gannon stepping away from pressure, chased by Spires, and then the pass is caught but out of bounds. Into the arms of Jerry Rice, but he's on the chalk, covered by Brian Kelly. It'll be third down.
You know, and Adam True's been holding his own so far. I mean, here he's going to get a double. I mean, you see him here, and then he's going to get some help here, and that's the thing that he does. See how quick he is? I mean, boom, that ball goes, and he gets his hands right up there, and there's no way that tackle is going to get off of him. So you know, they lose Robbins, and it's a thing. But it's not like putting a guy in there that never played. In fact, we went to practice on Wednesday. Robbins didn't practice, so True took every snap. We went to practice yesterday. He also took every snap yesterday.
Third down and 4, and Gannon's going to go down again in the arms of Greg Spires. Second time.
As you say, that's the speed of this Tampa Bay defense. You know, you think of speed, and you're thinking of defensive linebackers, and you're thinking of defensive backs, but they have it here too. Watch Spires. He's going to overpower Lincoln Kennedy right there, then turn on his speed. I mean, the speed comes from the time that he overpowers Kennedy and knocks him back until he gets to the quarterback.
Shane Leckler, first punt of the game, and this is a beauty. Goes all the way to the 15, where it's fair caught just inbounds by Carl Williams. You know, John, both teams playing a bit of hurry-up, but it's been an awkwardly paced first quarter.
Yeah, because I don't feel that the offenses are really up to a hurry-up yet. I mean, you have to be ready to take that pace, and the defenses have something to say about that. I mean, so far, both the defenses have been the dominant factors in this game.
Yeah, the offense is trying to go up-tempo, but really unable to establish it. So here we go again with Tampa Bay starting this drive. With 6.5 to go in the period from its own 16-yard line. Keyshawn Johnson in motion. Pitting with the ball, swinging to the outside, and coming up to make the tackle is Charles Woodson. And we have John Lynch mic'd up.
There's our man. There's our man. Joe. Trying to cover him with linebackers ain't going to happen.
That was on Tampa's last drive when Jurevicius caught the pass on third down to 23 yards. And this one is tipped and incomplete with a lot of white shirts in the neighborhood off the fingertips of Mike Alstott.
You know, and we're talking about that fast pace, that hurry up, and it works as long as you continue to get first downs. But if you go fast pace and you're just 3 and out, then what you're doing is you're not giving your defense any time to rest at all. You're just getting them right back in there.
Third down and 9 now. We've played 9 minutes. We've already had 22 plays in the game, but it's like we're in mud here right now.
Well, the offenses look a little more in mud, especially the offensive lines, and the defensive lines look like they're not in mud.
Third down and 9, and Johnson just throws it into the ground, which you can do if you're out of the pocket, and it's fourth down. So that's a 3 and out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So the fast-paced thing doesn't work if you don't get first downs. All you do is not even give your defense a chance to get a good drink before they have to get back in there.
Now Tom Tupa will punt.
And I think that hurts both these defenses, but more the Tampa Bay defense, because they're an undersized, quick defense that can be worn down.
Darian Gordon, who was picked up toward the end of the season to run back kicks. will be the recipient here, and Gordon with room to roam from the 43-yard line, but the Bucs get to him at midfield and take him down at about the 50. Jack Golden the first to hit him. Zach Crockett is in the game. He's a short yardage back normally, and they give it to him, and he takes it to the 45-yard line. We have Jerry Rice mic'd up moments ago on the bench.
We got to get some points on the board. That's what we did.
That's how we pound them, dog. I want to see what the inside like. See what them guts feel like. They can rush the passer, but can they stop the run?
John, that's Jerry Porter, 2 wide receivers talking about running the ball. What is that?
I know, and they're trying to run now. They got big Langston Walker in as a tight end, an extra blocker. They just run towards him.
And now it's Crockett. So they run their short yardage back twice in a row from midfield. He takes it to the 43-yard line, 3rd down and 4.
Bill Callahan was talking about Langston Walker when they put him in, and he says he increases their edge. Well, heck, he weighs 360 pounds. When you have a guy that big, that has to make you have a wide edge over there. Of course, they start at Langston and they cut it back in, but they're getting their power runners and their power blockers in and trying to go to that, some of that stuff Jerry Porter was just talking about.
Now Walker comes out in the backfield. Now Garner comes in on 3rd down and 4. He's offset back of Gannon. 4-man rush and pressure on Gannon, and it's knocked away. It's knocked away by Spires, who already has a sack, so they have 2 sacks and a knockdown. Gannon looking to get it to Jerry Porter.
And the big play was made by Ellis Wims. You know, some of these times these tackles look like the same guy. I mean, it looks like Warren Sapp the way he plays, but he gets a penetration. And he's the guy, you're going to see him come right up the middle, number 96 with the penetration, and he's the guy that's going to make Gannon bring the ball down. You see it right there. You see it, and he had to bring the ball down and then get it out to the side, and it just went right off his fingertips.
Now Lechner, whose first punt was a beauty from deep in his own territory. This one more of a pooch kick. That's fair caught by Carl Williams at the 16-yard line with 4:13 remaining. So the storyline being played out. You know, it's so funny. We were Brian Billick was talking about it on the pregame show, where, you know, one coach says, you know, I know this guy, but he thinks I'm going to do that, and that guy thinks I'm going to do this, and all that. And you have paralysis by analysis.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about the start of this game is both these teams script their first 15. So what we've seen offensively has been scripted. And obviously it doesn't work. I mean, I think that the offenses look a little conservative, a little sluggish, and to me, the defenses look a lot better and a lot quicker.
If this was a script, this was a pilot that never saw air, I'll tell you that. So they have to start ad-libbing here pretty soon from the 16-yard line. On 1st down, this is Michael Pittman for a gain of 5 to the 21-yard line, tackled there by Chris Cooper.
You know, I think they both came out with that idea of the fast pace and wanting to throw the ball a lot and do all those things, and then they found out that it's hard to handle the pass rush that way, and you have to get those pass rushers calmed down before you go to some of those things. Here's Jon Gruden's first 15. You see he passed 10 times, ran 5 times, scored 3 points. Now Jon Gruden likes balance. It's a lot more important to him than it is to the other side and Bill Callahan.
2 of those plays really work, the 2 23-yarders. Now it's Johnson making his first catch on a slant, tackled by Woodson.
This is going to be a very good matchup. Keyshawn Johnson is always going to go to the inside, and he said, you know, I watch these corners and they always have their backs to the outside. He said, I'm never going to run to the outside anyway. He said, they're just set up for things that I like to do.
Aaron Stecker in the backfield. Jurevicius comes in motion. Raiders with a blitz, pressure on Johnson, but he slings it away, and it's almost picked off by Rod Woodson. We talked about Rod playing in a Super Bowl again. He was there with Pittsburgh. He was there 2 years ago with Baltimore. Had the season-turning play, the 98-yard interception run back, and knows he should have had this one.
You know, it's funny. I don't think that Brad Johnson thought there was any way that Rod Woodson is going to get to that ball. You see, Rod Woodson is a deep guy, and Brad Johnson kind of lobbed it in there a little too much, and Rod Woodson is perfect at reading quarterbacks' eyes. He's been doing it all his life, and he does that as well or better than anyone.
So Johnson's already thrown a pick under pressure, 2 near picks after throwing just 1 in his last 6 regular season starts, and we have a penalty. First one of the game is Michael Pittman. Takes it up to the 35. But Brad Johnson, as Bill Carolla will make the call here in a moment, Brad was hurt, missed the last 2 games of the regular season. And it's an illegal shift or formation for Tampa Bay. And then, Brad was out. There was some speculation that it was a vertebrae problem. We know it was a back problem. And then came back for the playoffs and looked pretty good the last 2 weeks, obviously.
Yeah, and when he was out, they looked terrible. Remember, they had Sean King in there, and they had Rob Johnson in there, and they couldn't even get the ball back to the line of scrimmage.
Illegal shift, 2 men moving and not setting. Number 79 was going down, while the motion man was continuing in motion. 5-yard penalty, repletes it, 2nd down.
And there is the backup to Brad Johnson. That's Rob Johnson. We saw him that night, the Monday night game in Tampa, when he took them on a long drive late in the game, and then they coughed the ball up, and the ex-Buffalo Bill and Jacksonville Jaguar. And the number 3 guy, of course, is Sean King, who was the starter in the NFC Championship game in '99 and came within 5 points of taking his team to the Super Bowl.
And he was also the starter that night that we did the game against Pittsburgh.
Last that long, and this pass is dropped by Keyshawn Johnson. Pressure put on by Roderick Coleman. As you can see in the last 6 games that Brad played, how hot he was. I mean, you add them up, it's 11, that's 15 touchdowns, only 1 pick. And then that bottom game against Detroit, they have the win. It's toward the end of the game. He gets fallen upon by one of the Lions, and that created the back problem.
Yeah, and then he was inactive, and they got a break when they didn't have to play that first week, when they got the first week bye. And in fact, Brad Johnson said that was really big for him.
3rd and 15. They're still sending thank you notes to the Jets, who knocked off the Packers to give them that bye. And that's Eric Barton coming up to take care of Pittman, and they're forced to punt.
This is a tough thing for this offense when you can't pass because you can't get the pass protection, or guys drop balls, and you can't run. Because the Raiders in the running game are really getting penetration against this Buck offensive line.
And there was Gruden, who is totally exorcised and frustrated with the offense to this point. Barking as the offense came off. Tom Tupa to punt, Darian Gordon to run it back. High floating kick. Gordon from the 33. And the former San Diego Charger will turn the corner and bring it back to the 49-yard line. And that's where Oakland will start just shy of midfield.
This is the thing. What you try and do on a punt return is form a wall. You see Darian Gordon has the ball on the right. Now the Raiders form a wall on the right side, and he just comes right across there. Now, of course, four of the Buccaneers get to the outside, but watch the wall form here. There's a wall, there's a wall, there's a wall. Now that's the end of the wall. So the next thing you're going to see are the orange jerseys. That was a good return, and I'll tell you one thing. This Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense or special teams or all these players are as good at tacklers as there are in football. They have no guests.
From the 49-yard line, 4-man rush. Garner on the screen, and Garner to the 44.
Old Monty Kiffin is sitting right behind Jon Gruden. The first thing, the airplane takes off, seatbelt sign hasn't even got off yet. He sees Gruden's head come over the top, and he said, "You have to stop number 25.
Gruden would know. And they're going to stop him here, short of the first down, setting up 3rd and short for Oakland as the period winds down. Here's Garner, and kind of lost in the shuffle because you know about Gannon with Rice and Brown and guys like that, a lot of publicity, but that's 900 yards rushing and 900 yards receiving. And when you get up in that neighborhood, remember, 1,000 has only been done by Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk.
Well, and he's the speed for that team, too. If you don't put Jerry Porter in there as a 3rd wide receiver, other than Charlie Garner, this Raider offense has no speed.
3rd and a deuce. Gannon flushed out, chased by Spires, and it's intercepted by Dexter Jackson. So each team with a pick. Jackson brings it back to the 50 with 9 seconds left in the quarter.
Mark Trestman, the offensive coordinator of the Raiders, called it cluing. In other words, watching the quarterback's eyes. No one clues better than the zone defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the two things that they did well. Is one, the rush flush, and then the other thing is they clue. And they just wait, and they're always in position that whatever happens, the ball is in front of them. It gets tipped, they're going to be like Dexter Jackson, right in position to get it. You see what the line does first? That's what really caused it, the flush. They flushed him out and made him throw that. And see who does the flushing? It's Simeon Rice. What a move he makes on Barry Sims. That's a spinner to the inside.
On first down, they give the ball to Pittman. He gets across the 50, and that will be the end of the first 15 minutes of this scrum. Back in San Diego, Al Michaels, John Madden, Melissa Stark, Lynn Swan working the sidelines. Second quarter of Super Bowl 37 ready to begin. 3-3. Tampa Bay now with Jon Gruden watching his offense out there for the 5th time. They've had a pick, a field goal, 2 punts, and this possession after their interception.
And again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensively, they're not a good running team, and so they have to pass, and Brad Johnson has to pass quickly because he doesn't run.
And he's off the mark again, and he throws it behind Keyshawn Johnson. He's been way off the mark, under pressure again, and down he goes.
And I think the key is he's under pressure all the time. The fact that he doesn't run, he's kind of a sitting duck back there, and they know a point to rush to, and they're going to get to that point. And the Raider defensive line is doing a better job than the Buccaneer offensive line of keeping them off Brad Johnson. That's why Brad Johnson's only completed 4 passes.
He's 4 out of 14. 1 pick. 3 other balls have been dropped. 3rd down and 9. Flag because the Raiders look like they jumped. Pass caught. 39. Keyshawn Johnson for the moment pending the penalty first down.
And that has to be against Reagan Upshaw because, as you said, he did get the jumper. He got off right on that ball. It was against Robin Oben there, and I'm sure it is against Upshaw. You know, part of it is these defensive ends want to get off on the ball, and sometimes they start to anticipate the count, and that time he was just a half a beat early.
Offside, 91, defense. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
You know, here's Reagan Upshaw here, and as a defensive end, you always want to be quick. You always want to be the first one to get off, and then sometimes it's just too early.
That is John Ritchie, who's always bleeding every game. I mean, he has cuts along his eyebrow, forehead. Carollo's going to stop play here for just a second.
You know what they call those things? They call them calcium deposits. I always thought they were just kind of like, you know, you get a cut, then you get a scab, then the scab breaks off. But they say on his head he has 2 calcium deposits. You see him? Right and left? Frontal?
We need a dermatologist on the bench.
I mean, he's usually, this is the second quarter now, he's usually bleeding after about 2 minutes of the first quarter.
Keyshawn, an unhappy pup, at least for the moment, the way the offense is going, and he's out, at least for this play, as Alstott takes the ball to the 37-yard line.
Watch John Ritchie. That's Keyshawn right there.
And that's why he came out for one play. Rod Woodson with an elbow to the helmet. That's why Keyshawn was on the bench, and now he is back in. Three receivers bunched to the left, including Alstott here. Johnson stepping up, throws, caught by Keyshawn. Johnson to Johnson, first down inside the 30. That'll move the chains to about the 26-yard line.
That was interesting. What they did is they had their triple or bunch over on this side, and then we're watching them the other day. You see, here's what bunches. They have 3 guys right here together, and then as a ball snap, they all just disperse, and it's really tough. If you're man to man, you're going to get picked. Here's Keyshawn Johnson. He was the inside guy. If you're zone, they're going to push and find one guy to get in a hole. That time it was Keyshawn Johnson got in that hole, and then he just got between himself where he just gave Brad Johnson his numbers.
Keyshawn, 3 grabs, out again now. Each of those receptions has been good for a first down. Carl Williams replaces him, and Alstott turns his shoulders, gets inside, takes it to the 22, tackled there by Roderick Coleman.
Now, this is the thing that Jon Gruden has done now. He's gone to 2 tight ends and 2 running backs and just 1 wide receiver. And again, it seems like when you get on this side of the 50 for the Bucs, that Mike Alstott is a big runner here. I mean, this is where he does the best. I mean, he's a downhill runner. He's powerful. Getting close to the goal line, Mike Alstott can become real big.
And here they go big again with both Alstott and Barnes, but Bill Romanowski is right there to say enough already.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what Romo was saying, that enough of this. I pride myself in being a run stopper, and that's why I'm in here, and you guys have had your way in a couple of plays too much. Here he is. You're going to see Bill Romanowski is right here up in the end of the line of scrimmage. They run to the inside. He starts outside and then just flattens right down the line of scrimmage. In fact, he flattened a whole lot on that. He flattened Darian Barnes, the lead blocker.
3rd down and 8 now from the 25. Game tied early second quarter. Keyshawn back in there. Brad Johnson going to the end zone and not even close, with Johnson being double teamed on the way down. And now you're looking at a field goal of about 45 yards.
And that's one of the things about Brad Johnson. He makes good decisions. And as you said, there was a double team there. Keyshawn Johnson was double teamed. There was no way he was going to complete that pass, so he just threw it away.
Tom Tupa will spot the ball actually just outside the 33. So this is a 43-yard attempt by Gramatica to try to give Tampa Bay its first lead of the Super Bowl. And from 43, kick kind of a screwball. Started out as if it would hook. About 20 past 4. Gramatica, who just kicked his second field goal, sends another bouncing ball to the 11-yard line. Marcus Knight to run it back through the middle, and he's taken down by Dexter Jackson from the 34-yard line. Gannon begins this drive, throwing over the middle, and Jerry Porter, who might play a very big role before this day is done, for a 9-yard grab.
I think the interesting thing here is this game is set up as the #1 offense against the #1 defense, and is #1 defense better than #1 offense? And so far, Tampa Bay looks like the #1 defense. The Raiders don't look like the #1 offense.
Not yet, and this is Charlie Garnett picking up the first down. So they go no huddle again at that point, a little up tempo, and that's only their second first down of the game.
Yeah, which isn't a bad time to go no huddle, because you can get the first down. Now you get a new set of downs, and at least you're not going 3 and out.
From the 45 now. Barber blitzing, and he gets picked up, and it's intercepted again by Dexter Jackson. And he's across the 50 to the 45-yard line. Dexter Jackson. Well, right now he is the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP award.
It's an interesting thing. They're in nickel, and they're going to bring Rondé Barber down here. So you see the safety just sitting deep there, and he was just reading. You're talking about cluing, and you're talking about watching eyes. Dexter Jackson is just sitting back there and watching Rich Gannon's eyes.
Jackson.
Excuse me, I was just saying they had the nickel defense in there. Rondé Barber blitz, so he thought that he wasn't going to have a free safety in there, and boom, there was Dexter Jackson sitting in there.
And Dexter had 3 during the regular season, 2 already in the first 20 minutes of the game. Johnson starts to stumble, falling backwards, and the pass is incomplete. Well, John, you look at that Tampa Bay defense, and this is part of the reason they were clearly #1 overall and #1 against the pass.
Well, here's Rondé Barber. We talked about that. He's the 5th defensive back. They get the whole thing picked up, and I think when Gannon sees Rondé Barber coming, He thinks corner blitz, so he thinks man-to-man. He throws that post in there and doesn't see Dexter Jackson.
2nd and 10 now from the 45-yard line. Pittman slipping out of the backfield. Taking it to the 40-yard line. Under 10 minutes to play now. You know, we were talking to Brad Johnson the other day, and I loved his description. Of course, the offensive guys loved that Gruden came in, and, you know, Tony Dungy, they liked him, but he was a defensive guy. And it was Johnson who told us the other day about Jon Gruden. He said, you'd love to be in a disco with Gruden as the DJ.
Oh, yeah, he's a motivator. I mean, you know, you watch him in practice. In fact, the other day, when he was trying to simulate the Raiders' offense, he ran the quarterback position for the scout team.
Like a fantasy camp for him. 3rd and 5, and the pass is incomplete, and Keyshawn's going to look for a flag and not get one. Covered by Charles Woodson, and he can't believe that he didn't get a flag there.
Isn't by the Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson is an amazing guy. He has a broken fibula. He's playing with a plate in his right leg. He played last week, didn't play very well. And in fact, you can see he doesn't really have his movement or his quickness. And to be honest, I think the Raiders are just trying to get by with him out there corner, because Charles Woodson with a plate in his leg isn't really Charles Woodson.
Good non-call. Now Tim Brown will go back to accept this punt. I think they feel a little better with Tim Brown fair catching the ball in this situation than with Gordon. And he fair catches it at the 11-yard line. Always good to have a sure-handed receiver in a situation with his pooch punt and very little chance of a run back. Super Bowl 37, 3 field goals. 2 by Gramatica, 1 by Janikowski. And now the Oakland Raiders begin this drive from their own 11-yard line. Gannon, 5 out of 10, 2 picks, 2 sacks. Empties the backfield. Throws in a hurry, and it's off the hands of Brown. Again, the blitz that time by Ron D. Barber up the middle.
You know, and I think the key is throws in a hurry, and that's what this Tampa Bay defense does to you. Is they can pressure you with a blitz or with not, but their front four is so fast that you can see over here. You see that they have the unbalance there. They have 4 against 2, so they're going to get a free rusher. That free rusher is Ron D. Barber, and he gets in that position when they go nickel.
2nd and 10, little pump fake, and then he has to cover up, and down he goes. That's Simeon Rice, who had an earlier sack. And for Tampa Bay and Monty Kiffin, the defensive coordinator, I mean, they've just been quarterback killers this year. When you take a look at what they have done, I mean, one of the interesting things here, the regular season, look at that bottom number, the pass rating. That's 48.4. So all of the opposition quarterbacks have a pass rating of 48.4. If you're a QB with that rating, and there it is in postseason, you have 48.4, you're on the waiver wire normally.
Right, but that's what this defense will do to you.
3rd down and 11. Gannon slings it incomplete over the middle. That one intended for Jerry Porter. 3 and out again.
There's a Warren Sapp running down there. He's being a cheerleader now. Well, Sapp said, we're putting pressure on this. I'll show you what a #1 offense is. How about us? We're the #1 defense.
And in the Super Bowl, you have a neutral crowd. It's half and half. A lot of corporate people, obviously, and all that. It's not a regular season crowd, so it's a little quieter than it would normally be. And Warren trying to stir the masses, at least on this side of the field. Leckler to punt out of the end zone. Fielded 47 by Carl Williams into Oakland territory and inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. So the flow, the complete flow right now with the Buccaneers.
Right, and it all started with that Dexter Jackson interception. Then they went 3 and out. They didn't get anything maybe offensively, but they did get some field position. They got to punt the Raiders, back them up. Then they stopped them. Then the Raiders had a punt. So this field position is kind of a result of that Dexter Jackson interception.
Going back to it, sure. Callahan frustrated, obviously, offensively and defensively. They have to make a stand here, limit them to no more than 3 from the 27-yard line.
This is
Pittman, good hole, exploits the right side, tackled by Dorsett, but not until he gets to the 21 for a gain of 6.
Yeah, and this is a thing that, you know, we talked about the Raiders. I really felt offensively they'd be satisfied just to pass the ball every down, and they're not having success doing that. Now, the Buccaneers and Jon Gruden wants balance, and sometimes he'll pass earlier, and then when he gets a lead, I'll guarantee you he's going to run. The other time that he's going to run is when he gets down in this area of the field.
2nd and 4. Gives it to Pittman. Inside the 10, it'll be 1st down and goal.
That's what they do. You know, we talk about that position, and we talk about you know getting that defense 3 and out. You can see that they're starting to wear a little now. Watch them, Sam Adams. Here's a block they're going to get. They get a good double team, get him pushed, get him turned out, and Mike Pittman runs right off of that double team.
And he sets up a situation where Warren Sapp now comes in offensively to provide leverage on the left side. There he is in a 4-point stance on 1st and goal. They go the other way with Alstott, and he takes it to just outside the 1.
You know, and usually they run to Warren Sapp's side. In fact, Jon Gruden was saying, you know, I mean, this isn't a gimmick thing when we put Sapp in there. He said he's as good a blocking tight end as there is in football. We're watching him practice the other day. They do have a pass to him. And he said the big thing he has to do is fake him on the line of scrimmage because he's not going to beat him if he gets open.
Would you dare do it here?
I would. If you're going to do it, this is the down to do it.
2nd and goal. Instead, it's Alstott into the end zone for the game's 1st touchdown.
That's what Jon Gruden says. You can see him going up and down with his left hand. He calls that pounding the rock. He says, we got to get down there. We have to pound the rock. Again, they go right at Sam Adams. Watch number 60. We're going to see Cozy Coleman make this block right here. This is a big one. You got to control the line of scrimmage, control the big guy at the line of scrimmage to get a little movement so that Alstott can get back in there and push it in.
Gramatica for the conversion. And with 6:24 remaining now in the half. Well, his team is up 13-3 as Gramatica sends a one-hopper to the 8-yard line. Marcus Knight gets spilled at the 29-yard line. Knifing in, flying in was Corey Ivy for the tackle.
I'll tell you one thing, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers have brought their tacklers today. I mean, we talk about tacklers on defense and no guests, but special teams are the same way. I mean, they're open field tackling, and I think they've always been good tacklers. I mean, they're one of those groups that I don't think they keep players that don't tackle. I know they don't keep defensive players that can't tackle. They don't have any of those things that they call cover corners. The cover corner cannot play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And a great job tackling and covering against the Raiders, who can't get on track, and that is incomplete. Dropped by Garner. This is the 7th Oakland possession. They have gained 39 yards in 6 possessions.
Yeah, and I think, Al, it all starts with the front 4 of the Buccaneers. I mean, they're getting pressure. I mean, every time Gannon gets back there, he doesn't have time to set. You know, I mean, he always has to move as he throws when he doesn't want to. And the Raider offense, or pass offense, is a rhythm offense. And this front 4 of the Buccaneers is keeping him out of any rhythm.
2nd down and 10 from the 29, and there they are. Garner, and he's taken down by Quarles. And John, they're also doing it without Booger McFarland, who got hurt. He would make that front 4 even more potent.
Yeah, and then Chartrick Darby, who is playing in there, is kind of injured himself, and they kind of rotate in there. You know, Ellis Wims has been in there quite a few times, and he's come up with big plays. Greg Spires, the left end, has had more big plays in this first half than I remember ever seeing him have.
There's McFarland. The Raiders have had 5 straight 3-and-outs. Now they try to convert on 3rd and 6 here. And they do, and Porter makes the catch. He gets positioned inside Dwight Smith and moves the chains. That
was great by Rich Gannon there, because he was getting the blitz on that side. You know, that's It's easier to throw away from the side of the blitz. The blitz was coming from his left, and he threw that ball to Porter to the left. Watch this. Here comes a blitz on this side, and he's going to throw to that side.
And after they pick up their first down since the beginning of the game, it is Garner stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Now, only one team in the history of the Super Bowl has ever overcome a deficit of 10 points to win the game, and it was right here. It was in 1988, after the '87 season, Washington against Denver. The Broncos unbelievably led 10-0, and the final score was 42-10 Redskins. They had 35 points in the second quarter. Second and 11, and Gannon sidearms it to Garner, and Garner is out to the 47-yard line, so it's third and about 7 upcoming.
You know, and you assume that the Raiders should be able to come back because they aren't one of those, you know, ball control, run the clock out, play defense type of team. They're the #1 offense in football, and in this first half they haven't shown that.
Gannon 7 of 15.
But at some point, I mean, you have Tim Brown and you have Jerry Rice and you have Jerry Porter. I mean, you have to get the ball to these guys.
16.7 rating. Third down and 6. Gannon throws, and that's dropped. Tim Brown incomplete. Dwight Smith covering, a little behind Brown, but clearly a catchable ball.
I mean, Tim Brown's been playing for 15 years, and he's caught so many passes in his career that that's one that he usually catches. But I think, you know, we're talking about rhythm and the offensive team of the Raiders being a rhythm team. This Tampa Bay defense has really kicked them or knocked them out of rhythm.
That Tampa Bay defense can make the opposition offense look lethargic.
And that's exactly what they've done.
Leckler's punt is fair caught on the run by Carl Williams at the 23-yard line. So the Bucs have it back again. And Monty Kiffin, who was inherited by Gruden. Remember, Monty was there with Tony Dungy for all of those years. He was in place when Gruden got the job. Pittman. You know, when you look at Gruden, and everybody knows the story, Parcells was going to take the job. Then they looked at Gruden, but the Raider price was too high at that point. Then they went to guys like Nick Saban and Ralph Friedgen in college, and Mariucci had a chance. Then they went back to Gruden finally at the end and made the deal. I'm thinking, you know, John, if Gruden doesn't get the job, what do? Fill it on Monster.com?
Well, that's going to be a problem. I mean, the Glazer family would be completely embarrassed. That's why they had to pay the $8 million, the 2 first, the 2 second. They had to get Jon Gruden.
Second down and 5 from the 28. The Raiders nearly jump, and there is a flag. In fact, they did jump.
You know, it would be interesting if the Buccaneers were to win this Super Bowl. How many owners in football would give $8 million and 2 first and 2 seconds this year to win next year's Super Bowl?
A few more than would have a year ago.
That would be an interesting vote, but I would bet at least 30 of them would.
All right, now, in the glasses lower first row there he is. Thank you, John. That's Malcolm Glazer, the president, and behind him his sons. He has sons and daughters who are all very involved in the team, running the team, and there is the price, a first and a second in this past draft, first round pick in the next draft, and then a second round pick in 2004, $8 million, and then of course you have to pay Gruden.
Yeah, but if he wins the Super Bowl, it's worth it. They brought him in to get over that hump, and if he can get him over that hump, he's worth it.
And there's Al Davis, the recipient of the $8 million and all those picks. Blitz picked up, and that opens up a big hole through the middle for Pittman. It's almost as if the Bucs know exactly what the Raiders are going to do.
Well, now they do because they have him on the ropes, and they know that. And I'll tell you this about Jon Gruden. If he has a lead, he's going to sit on it. When he gets ahead, he's going to run the ball. They had trouble with their pass protection, so he started to run the ball. Again, another good lead block by Mike Alstott. Boom, right there. And, you know, and Pittman is showing his speed and quickness now.
Second down and 1. Derrick Barton out of the game at linebacker. and Smith in right now as they work on Barton's foot, and Alstott catches the pass in the flat and then gets angled down by Dorsett, and finally Romanowski up near midfield, and that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning. So the Bucs are on the move again as we come to the 2-minute warning in Super Bowl 37. Aaron Stecker in the game at running back, 43-yard line, and we've got Upshaw coming across the line again.
Stecker in the ball carrier. Flag on the field.
You know, that's one of the things that has haunted the Raiders all year are just penalties. You know, they have to get something going now. The Buccaneers have the momentum, and they have to take the momentum away from them. And the last thing they need
Offside.
is a stupid jump off sides.
Defense, 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
I think I'd tell Reagan Upshaw that's about enough of that. We don't need any more of these. You know, it's tough enough stopping these guys now in the run, but you see what they did. Jon Gruden and the Buccaneers, they start to run 6 plays in a row, 6 running plays in a row. Then they get you playing the run hard, and then they go play pass. And that's what Brad Johnson likes to do, and that's what Jon Gruden likes to do.
From the 37 on 1st and 5 after the flag, and Brad Johnson throws, and that's incomplete, a little high for Ricky Dudley, the ex-Raider, who couldn't haul it in over the middle. The greatest running performance in Super Bowl history was here in January of '88, Timmy Smith. And here is, as you can see, Clarence Davis, one of John's Raiders. Tom Maddie had a 76-yard first half in the classic 3rd Super Bowl. And there's Pittman, who has kind of had, he's had a decent year. The numbers aren't electrifying. Came over from Arizona as a free agent when they let Warwick Dunn sign with Atlanta. And here's Pittman adding to that yardage, and the flag comes in at the end of the play.
Pittman's one of those guys, if you're not ready for, he can knock you out. I think that you can't ignore, when you're playing Tampa Bay, you just can't say Alstott, Keyshawn Johnson, McCardell, and so on. You better say Pittman. Now, if you're ready for him, I think you can handle it. But if you're not ready for him, and it doesn't look like the Raiders are ready for him, and it looks like they have other thoughts of things that they have to stop, and, Michael Pittman isn't the top of that list.
Illegal use of the hands to the face, number 99, defense, 5-yard penalty from the end of the run, automatic first down.
To Lawrence Grant. John, you were talking about it. They got away last week with all those penalties, and they had 9 in the first half against Tennessee, but now down by 10.
When you talk about championships and the way championships are won, and whether it's defense or offense, you can't do stupid things. You can't have penalties. If you're a lot better than an opponent, you can have penalties and overcome. If you're not, then they're going to kill you.
So Jerry's been shut out through the first 28 minutes of the game. From the 29 now, they give it to Alstott. He can't get out of the backfield because Eric Barton, who has his foot worked on before, is back in and upends him.
And you say Jerry Rice has been shut out. I think that a lot of that is, I'm just watching Tampa Bay Buccaneer coverage. They're not doing anything special. They're just playing zone, keeping everything in front of them. There's no, special tight coverage or anything that they're doing to Jerry Rice. I think it's all about the pass protection and Rich Gannon and not letting him get in rhythm.
2nd down and 11 from the 30-yard line. Johnson throws, and that's Keyshawn making a sliding grab as he went down on the grass and was able to haul it in a little short of the first down, the spot at the 20.
Wide receivers love quarterbacks when they put the ball there. It looks like it's a little behind, but what he does, he brings him to the ground so he's not going to take that big hit. He lets him go down. He doesn't run him right into the safety. See, Rod Woodson, number 26, is going to be there.
I think a very big play here, John, for the Oakland Raider defense, because if they let him convert here and they go in for a touchdown, big difference obviously between 20-3 and 16-3.
Well, that Oakland Raider offense not getting first downs as 3 and that have killed this Raider defense, and you can just see that they're starting to get worn down. They're tired, and it's that type of thing because they've been out there on the field too long because their offense hasn't been able to do anything.
This will be Tampa's 42nd play of the half. That's a big number and a half. 3rd and 1 from the 20-yard line. And it's Alstott with that second effort picking up the first down. Initially stopped and then is able to angle forward and a first down. And another timeout is called by the Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay doesn't really have to go to the end zone here because they still have one timeout left.
Johnson slings it to the outside. Alstott slips a tackle and picks up the first down as he breaks out of Charles Woodson's grasp to the 5.
You know what they do? Brad Johnson was saying the way that they key this, if they see Romanowski playing on the slot, in other words, if they see this when the slot, if they see Romanowski out here, they know that it's zone. So that's his pre-snap read, that anytime Romanowski is out on the slot, he's going to have zone. If they have a corner out on him, it's going to be man. If Rod Woodson is out, watch the dog.
First and goal, 34 ticks and one timeout left for the Bucs. And Johnson to the outside, caught by McCardell. Spins away from the coverage. Charles Woodson, the defender, touchdown.
Brad Johnson was perfect there. That's the thing. You have tight coverage. This is one of the things they work on, putting it on their back shoulder. Brad Johnson put it on Keenan McCardell's back shoulder, and Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson was on his front shoulder.
.30 seconds now remaining in the half as Gramatica tries to tack it on. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have now outgained Oakland 198 yards to 58. 3 defensive penalties on that drive for the Raiders.
You see, when you get the tight coverage here, McCardell's going to run up, and if he doesn't get by him, he throws it to the back shoulder. That's exactly what he did there. You see, now Woodson is playing the front shoulder. He's playing the front of him, and Brad Johnson just throws it to the backside of McCardell. Now, after you catch one of those and you know that you got a guy where you want him, you try and go for your dunk. I think that dunk was a little short.
And there's Alstott, and there's Gruden. Sapp, Keyshawn, Lynch.
And this is just the end of the first half.
Yeah.
These are end of game type celebrations.
And he's been kicking the bouncers all day. Drop, Knight picks it back up at the 9, taken down at the 12, and again, just spectacular coverage by their special teams unit. Interestingly, Gruden was telling us throughout the season, I'm worried about kickoff return coverage. Not today. Let's go to John Lynch mic'd up.
Mike, every play they've run, we ran in practice.
I know.
It's unreal.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when your coach was their coach.
Right, and that gives you a heck of a lot of confidence when you know that there's nothing that's keeping you off balance, that you feel so good about your defensive plan against their offensive plan.
First and 10 from the 13. Gannon looking for something. Again, he gets hit by Sapp. They had a vice on him that time, and that's incomplete.
Again, we talk about how it all starts as a great defense, cover 2, zone, all those things, but it all starts right here with this front 4 and being able to get pressure on the quarterback. And they've been all over Gannon this first half. I mean, this has been relentless pressure by this Tampa Bay defense.
All year long, the Raider critics would say this team is too old, and they showed they weren't too old, but this Tampa Bay defense can make you look old.
I'll tell you what, every game that I saw, the Raider offensive line has been a heck of a pass-protecting offensive line, but they aren't in this first half. But if the Raiders pass and if it's incomplete, they still can pull it off.
I would be surprised if they do, but we'll see here. 3rd down and 9. No, they're just going to run it, cover it up, and that's the way the half is going to end. With a little pushy, shovey, and all of the rest. And so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first ever Super Bowl appearance, a dominant first half. 20-3. Tampa Bay, they lost in the Monday Nighter next to last week to Pittsburgh. It looked like they blew their chance at the bye. They would have had to win a wild card game, a couple of games on the road. Then they got win against Chicago when Green Bay lost to the Jets, a much easier road.
Yeah, and we were talking to Brad Johnson about that the other day when you brought that up. He just let all the air out of himself. I mean, there's a big sigh of relief because he said he probably would have been able to play in a wild card game. He said, but that 1 week extra was just magic.
They still had to win in Philly, though, to get here, which they did last week as the kick was fielded by Knight from the 5. And again, a solid hit as Darian Barnes, number 30, crunches him up at about the 27-yard line. First half started in bright sunshine. Now the lights take full effect as the second half commences from the 27-yard line. Gannon over the middle, and the first pass of the half is complete, but for a very short gain. Porter makes the catch. Gannon in postseason against the Jets, big second half, of course. 2 TDs. They win going away against the Titans last week. 286 through the air and 4 touchdowns. And now this one, third line.
You know, one of the things that Bill Callahan was saying is he likes to start the game with CBs, he calls them, as confidence builders for Rich Gannon. And I think part of it, his confidence builders didn't work. So now maybe he has to start with CBs again.
Second down and 7. And that's caught over the middle by Doug Jolly, another guy who you figured could have emerged maybe as a big hero. That's his first catch of the game, the rookie tight end.
And I think that these passes here are the confidence builders, but in having the confidence builders, I mean, they would be the short type of passes that you're going to have a high percentage of completion. And again, where the quarterback can get back, throw quickly, just get the ball out of there. We'll watch out for Derrick Brooks. You talk about clue and the key and we're watching quarterback's eyes. He's the best linebacker there is at that.
A gap in the middle, as you can see. Third down and 2, expecting pass. Get one to the outside, and that's incomplete. Kelly says, I didn't touch him. Intended for Marcus Knight, and there is no flag.
Yeah, and that's when those confidence builders don't work, is when you have those short passes, the quick passes, and then you have another 3 and out. See, Kelly's playing real well on this. I mean, he just gets there in a jam, and it's hard to run a little quick or a short hook against tight coverage because there's no time to get separation.
Leckler to punt. Carl Williams back for the Bucs. Fair catch called for at the 21, and a flag comes in at the end of the play.
And one thing we talk about this crew being an all-star crew and how you really don't like it. I mean, I believe the crew's working together, but this crew tonight in the first half, I think, has done a pretty good job. I mean, they've been conspicuous by their absence.
They have been.
And I think that's always the best officiated games, the ones that you don't notice the officials. You don't talk about the officials. And
Illegal block in the back, number 26, while the kick was in the air. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Tampa Bay starts from the 11-yard line early in the third quarter. And they start with Pittman as the tailback. Alstott blocking. Pittman had a big half and a big beginning to the second half as Romanowski finally runs him out at the 16-yard line. And let's take a look at the Bucs start track and what the key guys have done. Brad Johnson, a slow start, but then picked it up. Pittman, big half. And Keyshawn with 4 catches.
I think that was the big thing, is Pittman or the Bucs being able to run the ball. They started out slowly, and it looked like Brad Johnson couldn't get into any kind of rhythm. Jon Gruden calling the plays started to go to Pittman in the run, and then everything started to flow for the Buc offense.
And that is the middle linebacker. That's Napoleon Harris who gets shaken up, the rookie.
The Raider defense looks like they're lethargic and slow. They don't look like, I'm just looking at their assignment, they don't look like this is a Super Bowl. Yeah. This is a world championship. This is it. I mean, you have the feeling that the Buccaneers are out there fighting for a world championship, and I don't know that I have that same feeling about the Raiders.
Right, either side of the ball, and of course the Tampa Bay defense making the offense look lethargic. Second down 4. From the 17, a little toss back to Pittman. Speaking of Pittman, he came over from Arizona. Again, they had Dunn and Alstott in the backfield for so long. They let Dunn go. He signed with Atlanta. brought Pittman in from Arizona. And as you can see, as a Cardinal, he had 200-yard games in his first 3 starts. 3rd and 2 from the 19 as Johnson has to step it up. And he's going to step out of a tackle. And he doesn't do that very often, but he does it with effectiveness here on a 3rd down with a gain of 10.
Yeah, and in this football, in the NFL, the way it's played now, quarterbacks have to make that play right there. When you get 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, if there's nothing open, you have to be able to run for a 1st down. Now, in the quarterbacks in this game, I thought this would be done. I thought this would be part of it, but I thought the quarterback and the other team would be doing this, not Brad Johnson.
His longest run of the season was 10 yards.
We're wondering about Brad Johnson. He is a tough guy.
From the 29, Pittman. And for Brad Johnson, you think back to the Minnesota Vikings in '92. Gannon's there, but Gannon loses the starting spot to Sean Salisbury in the playoffs. And then Johnson gets drafted, and he's the 3rd guy most of the year. And like Gannon, I mean, you look at their careers, and there are a lot of parallels. Journeyman, don't get a chance to start, some injuries, and then all of a sudden they wind up in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's just the old stick-to-itiveness. I mean, both these quarterbacks are tough guys. I mean, both of them have been, had their ups and downs, and they stayed with it, and then finally came out the other end.
Gannon can't, well, as always, can't wait to get back out. He won't even take his helmet off on the sideline. 2nd down and 8 from the 31. And that is caught by Keyshawn Johnson up to the 40-yard line, and that will move the chains again.
And the thing is Keyshawn was really looking forward to this game. He says, you can be good, but you can't be great until you win a Super Bowl. But again, do you see Rod Woodson, 26, coming in here? And what Brad Johnson does, it's a slant. He puts the ball down. You see, he didn't run him in. All those hits that they have helmet to helmet and safety and so on, a lot of them are caused by the quarterback. That's the opposite. That's the 2nd time that Brad Johnson did that for Keyshawn Johnson.
1st and 10 at the 40-yard line. Softly, but a little high off the fingertips of Mike Alstott.
You ever see that old thing where a guy gets so much muscle, he gets muscle bound, muscle beach, and he can't lift his arm to comb his hair? Didn't he feel that way about Alstott?
No question.
That time that his shoulders and arms and stuff were so big that he just couldn't lift them up to catch the ball.
Always goes to the Pro Bowl.
Because they list him as a fullback, and he's kind of half fullback, half tailback. Although I will say in this game, he's playing this position a lot, which is the fullback position.
Hybrid. And now he goes into a running back mode as they run a little misdirection up to the 43-yard line. I'm looking at the Bucs, John, and you see Alstott. They have so many, recognizable guys. They're loquacious, they're funny, Sapp, and Keyshawn and guys like that. And Mike is quiet, but everybody knows about him. You see, he does play a distinctly different game.
Well, yeah, and they like him when they get down close to the goal line, and he's a hard runner. And sometimes in a game when the defense gets worn down, he'll take 5, 6, 7 guys jumping on him as a nickname A-Train. I mean, he has a lot of things going for him too.
Raider D has to step it up right here. 3rd down and 7. And there's a flag, and Jurevicius makes the catch for the moment. A 1st down as he gets pushed out of bounds. Now the call.
Well, Joe Jurevicius is going through something, isn't he? His wife has a baby, and the baby is sick and in the hospital, and you're torn. You
Offside.
Should be with your wife and
91,
the baby.
Defense. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, 1st down.
And you should be with your wife and baby, but then you got a championship game last week, a Super Bowl game this week, and you talk about a guy that has a lot of emotion and a lot of stuff going up inside that helmet. That's Joe Jurevicius right now.
No doubt didn't practice before the Philly game, made the key play early in the game. Meanwhile, Tim Brown, his wife up in Oakland, expecting twins at any moment. That penalty, meanwhile, on Upshaw again for offside. A couple of them in the 1st half. And here's Pittman, who gets whacked up back in the line of scrimmage by Perella, who leads the charge.
Yeah, and this is the type of thing, we talked about the 1st half, how the Bucs had the ball and the Raiders were 3 and out, and then time of possession. this is what it does. It just wears this defense down. And I could see it in the first half that the Raider defense was worn down, and now it just carried over in the second half. They can't stop it. Of course, they had another stupid penalty, too.
Second and 11.
No, and that's what discipline is. They always talk about, discipline. It's not, you drink your milk and cookies, but it's you don't jump off sides. You don't do those stupid things.
Good protection that time. Perfect pass. Jurevicius deep into Oakland territory. Out of bounds at the 14-yard line.
Warren Sapp saying first down, and I think, Al, the key you said was good protection. And that's the thing. Watch this group right here in the protection. You see they form a perfect pocket. Brad Johnson can look. He looks to his left. He can step up cleanly. He looks to his left, and then he comes back, and then he can step up and put everything on that ball to Joe Jurevicius. So when you can do that, when you can give Brad Johnson that kind of time, he makes those kinds of throws.
33 yards to Jurevicius, who caught a 23-yarder in the first half. Alstott taken down by Roderick Coleman after a minimal gain. This drive began back at the 11-yard line after the Raiders, trying to make some sort of a statement offensively, go 3 and out on their series, and meanwhile here goes Tampa marching all the way down the field.
And then they make no statement defensively except catching. I mean right now all they're doing out there is catching, and they're taking the blows. I mean, if this were a heavyweight fight, Tampa Bay would have been getting a lot of body blows.
So the big eyes of Sapp on the sideline. I mean, he can smell it now. Second down and 9. Johnson on a roll. Throws. Caught out here by Dilger, and the tight end gets down to the 1-yard line. So Dilger gets into the act. That's his first catch.
Brad Johnson, he is starting to have fun now. And this is after you get the running game going, then you can do this. You can go play pass, you can go bootleg, which this play is, and have guys wide open. But, if you can't run, then you can't do these kinds of things. So it all started in that second quarter when the Bucs got their running game going. And they always say to keep your head up and you get kicked right in the face when you do it.
First and goal from the 1. And they're going to throw it into the end zone. And incomplete. Trying to go back to Dilger again. Flag down back at the 10-yard line, and this one is against Tampa.
Whatever that thing is that you have to come up with to change momentum, to make a play, to get something happen. The Raiders don't look like they're worried about that.
Hands to the face, number 67, offense. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
We see enough games now. I mean, body language is so big. And again, we can give you some isolated shots to show you things like that, but there's no fire from anybody.
No, and that's the way I feel. I mean, just looking at the sideline and looking at the guys on the field, that there isn't. I mean, this is emotional. This is for the championship of the world. This is Super Bowl 37 we're talking about here. Tampa Bay understands it.
First and goal now from the 11-yard line. Here goes Pittman to the 8-yard line.
And Jon Gruden is one of those guys, a kind of a disciple of a Bill Walsh philosophy that says that you throw early, and then once you get the lead in the second half is where you do most of your running. And I'll tell you, they've done a lot of running on their right side behind Colsey Coleman and Kenyatta Walker. Watch these two guys right here. They've been doing that all day, just taking that tackle and driving him right into the ground, and that 4-hole. Between the tackle and the guard has been a big hole.
Bunch the receivers to the left, spread out along the tree trunk, and the pass is caught by McCardell. Touchdown. Well, they got here mainly with their defense, but then with Gruden, John said we really came along offensively. during the latter stages of the season, and it's all coming to fruition tonight.
Yeah, and they got it in the first half when they started the running. Then they got the pass protection because now the Raiders are tired. They're not getting the pass rush. They're missing tackles. They're doing all the things that bad defenses do because the Bucs put them in that position.
Gramatica, the 27th point. That drive, 89 yards.
And I think a lot of the Buccaneers have that same feeling that you can be good, but your legacy to be great, you have to have a Super Bowl win. Because John Lynch said the same thing.
Kick taken at the 2 by Marcus Knight. And the Raiders in dire need of something really big. It's a good run back, but then he gets taken down by Ronde Barber. So there's Barber all over the field on special teams as well, with a textbook tackle. In Hawaii, some of these guys coming with us as well, Gannon and Johnson, among others, as Gannon starts this drive with Charlie Garner. And now the Raiders obviously going to no huddle with 20 minutes left in the game.
You know, and the Buck defense has been playing the same group of guys. You know, 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, not playing Al Singleton, and playing their 5th defensive back, Dwight Smith, the whole game. So they've been playing them 4-2-5.
2nd and 2. Gannon to the outside, and it is intercepted by Dwight Smith, the nickelback, and he gets by Gannon and goes in for the touchdown. He tried to hit Jerry Rice. Instead, it's a 44-yard interception return.
You know, 4-2-5, and Dwight Smith is the 5. He's playing right corner, and he's playing out here on Jerry Rice. And you see him off here. He's just playing zone, and he just reads it. You see, he was like 10 yards off of Jerry Rice, and as we said the whole time, the thing that these guys do the best is they key the quarterback's eye. Dwight Smith was like 10 yards off, just watching the quarterback all the way, and he got a big jump on that one.
3rd pick of Gannon in the game. The other 2 by Dexter Jackson, and Gramatica puts one through. And the Gulf Coast is starting to rock already. Dwight Smith still exulting, hugged there by John Lynch on the sideline, recounting the play. Derrick Brooks, the defensive player of the year. And for Gannon, 3 picks.
Yep, and he looked at Jerry Rice on that one, and you know, we said how the Buck defense is just playing zone. I mean, they're just making their zones deeper now and just reading Gannon.
2 hopper, Marcus Knight from the 6. And again, great coverage. And I go back to Gruden telling us each time we did Tampa this year, you know, I'm really worried about kickoff return coverage. They got that fixed. From the 18, Gannon again going to work with less than 5 minutes remaining in the 3rd, and it just continues. This time it's Ellis Wims with the sack.
You know, let's watch that interception again by Dwight Smith, and you'll see the coverage. We talk about 5 defensive backs. Here's Ronde Barber. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. Now, right here is Dwight Smith, and you see how off he is, and he's just looking in and reading Rich Gannon. And he got a jump of about 7 yards on that play. Watch him here. He's coming off. He's not looking at Jerry Rice. He's looking in at Rich Gannon. When Rich Gannon gets ready to throw, he gets ready to jump. And when he throws, he beats Jerry Rice to the ball. But that's all they're doing. You know, they're saying, how are they stopping Jerry Rice? How are they stopping Tim Brown? How are they stopping? All they're doing is playing a zone. And as this game goes on, that zone's getting softer.
And there is Greg Spires, who had a sack and a big first half, the defensive end, who's hurt.
Greg Spires had a great start to this game. Remember this one here? There he is on Lincoln Kennedy, and then you see him just pushing here, and then he goes to make the tackle. Looks like he just got his leg twisted there. I'll tell you, that was big. I mean, I think, you know, the start, Greg Spires kind of started it out for this Buccaneer front 4, and then Simeon Rice came up next, and then the middle guys started taking over. So it hasn't been just one. It hasn't just been Warren Sapp, or it hasn't just been Simeon Rice. This guy here has made a lot of big plays today for this defense.
Well, so much was made of the #1 offense against the #1 defense, and we talked about it during the pregame show, John, and it's reflected in the score. It's reflected in that. And historically, defensively, the great defense beats the great offense.
Well, I mean, they're proving it here right now.
2nd and 11. Gannon finally airs one out, and wouldn't you know it, he still completes that one to a Buccaneer. That's Jermaine Phillips with an out-of-bounds interception.
Yeah, and just complete frustration has come in now. I mean, that's the thing, and that's what this Buck defense does to you. I mean, they're very physical, and they do all the physical things to you, but they also do those things where they just make you be patient, and then you want to be patient, and then pretty soon you're down like this. It's 34-3, and you're still trying to be patient.
3rd and 11. From the 17. Gannon over the middle. Finally a big play through the air to Doug Jolly, the tight end, up to the 43-yard line. Much made of 1 versus 1, but let's expand it a little bit. And if you take a team in the top 3 in offense against the top 3, there have been 9 such games in the history of the Super Bowl. The defense has won 8, and right now we're on our way to 9 out of 10.
You know, I thought maybe that was something that used to be true and wasn't true as much today, the way football is being played. But I don't agree with that. I don't agree with what I thought. I agree that the defense will win championships.
And here is Rice, and there's a flag because there's a face mask. Brian Kelly with a face mask, and Brian's trying to say, no, I got his shoulder pad.
You know, these face masks are getting so big now that you can start off for a shoulder, and on the way to grab a shoulder pad, you grab a hunk of that face mask because they stick out so far. But it was just something that, you know, we talk about defense, and this defense just smothered the Raider offense.
The player grabbed his jersey. 2nd down.
Kelly.
Brian Kelly was right.
Yeah.
Watch him here. Here he is on Jerry Rice right here. After Jerry Rice catches the ball. No, that wasn't even close to a face mask, was it?
Just a shirt.
At least the one official threw it, and then another official came and told him that you were wrong, and that was Jerry Rice's first catch.
42 minutes into the game. Gannon throws it over the middle, and that's incomplete. Intended for Doug Jolly. Well, the Raiders began the day with a field goal off a pick, and then their last 6 possessions, ugly. Interception, punt, then the end of the half. 3 and out to start this half. Another pick for a touchdown. And the total yardage is 108 yards for Oakland at this point in the game.
You know what I think Tampa Bay or Jon Gruden did is they kind of both started out the same way. You know, trying to throw the ball and up-facing tempo. It didn't work. He went to the running game. The Raiders didn't.
3rd and 4 from the 48-yard line, and that's deflected over the middle, in and out of the hands of Porter, and a flag down at the Tampa 45.
You know, and he was able to change that thing. I mean, I think he was the first one to get his offense out of a funk. I mean, they were both kind of in a funk when they started. Gruden got his offense out. Callahan never did get his offense out.
53, defense. Automatic first down, the spot of the foul.
Shelton Quarles. I mean, look at that face. Al Hirschfeld, the great caricaturist, died this week at the age of 99. I only wish he had lived a little longer and just once drawn Gruden. But, you know, when you look at Gruden's face, it is a Hirschfeld caricature.
Yeah. And you wonder how one face can get in those many positions.
First and 10 from the 46. Sidearm to John Ritchie. Inside the 40 to the 39.
You know, Rich Gannon is great at that, throwing balls at different angles, you know, and he says the way football is today, you know, it used to be that pass rushers would just rush, and now they try and take lanes away from you, get their hands up and those kinds of things. So he said there's sometimes the only way you can get it in a lane is to throw it sidearm like he did there.
So he's like a Don Drysdale of football.
Yeah. He doesn't bring it with as much heat though as Christ.
Second down and 3. And that's incomplete. 3rd and 3 now from the 39-yard line. Gannon has time this time and then throws, and it is caught out of the end zone. And wouldn't you know it, Porter beats the secondary, but the pass is thrown a hair too long.
And, you look at the future of the Raiders, and this Jerry Porter is going to be the guy, because now, if they don't have him in here, again, as I said earlier, there's not a lot of speed there. And you see, he's just going to go right by Dwight Smith there, and he has so much speed. Watch him here. I mean, he can turn on another gear. Dwight Smith just fell down. I don't know. This could be a catch, Al.
At this point,
he got there, and then he drags that left foot. I think that's a touchdown.
Well, and Gannon got up to the line, and you could almost tell by the way he was slow in getting to the line, and they were going to go for it on 4th down here, that the Raiders are going to challenge.
But you saw Jerry Porter's speed there. I mean, he had a gear, and then he got in front behind Dwight Smith, and then the ball was in the air, and he had another gear.
On the field that it was an incomplete pass. We'll review the play.
Now, when Carollo goes over, they look for 2 things, obviously, inbounds and then possession. So the first thing he does, he looks at the feet. You look at the feet first, and then you look for possession.
So now I think we have to look at possession because he did have feet.
Right, there's the right foot, and then he drags the left, but the ball is rolling around a little bit.
But he still has control of it. I mean, it doesn't hit the ground, or he doesn't drop it or anything.
Yeah, but the refs hate to see that, though. They hate when that ball begins to roll around. See, his feet look like I mean, the left foot, he's dragging it. The right foot is clearly in, but the ball is rolling. And you have to exhibit control of it as you're going out of bounds, and I don't think he is. I don't think Carollo overturns this.
Okay, just to be contrarian, I think he does. Maybe because I think he has control of it too.
John, anything to hold an audience at this point.
I mean, he has both hands on it. He runs into the wall and doesn't drop it.
But it's rolling around, and I have a feeling Carollo is going to say he doesn't have.
I think control right there. He has good control. And now he's out. I mean, now. I mean, I know he has to maintain control. I mean, had he fallen down out of bounds, I know he has to maintain control of the ball and those things. But I don't know if he's going to say that the ball did move as he brought it into his chest. That would be.
Well, Carollo's going to take only about half the allotted time. He has seen enough. As Whitey Herzog once said when asked, how did you get thrown out of the 7th game of the World Series with the score 8-0? Whitey said, I'd seen enough.
After reviewing the play, it's been determined that the receiver possessed and caught the ball with both feet inbounds throughout the process of making the catch. The play is reversed to a touchdown.
There you
Oakland
go.
is not charged with a timeout.
You see, so much for Tom Brady trying to, sit on the ball last year.
Right. But sometimes contrarian is good. I thought that was a heck of a catch, though. I mean, to be able to keep the feet in and drag that in, and the control. I mean, he just had both hands out there, and this guy's going to be the future of the Oakland Raiders. You say, who's going to be their star 5 years from now? The Raiders' star 5 years from now is going to be Jerry Porter.
So Porter scores a touchdown. A delayed reaction touchdown, but nonetheless it's 34-9 as Oakland finally gets into the end zone. And he will go for 2.
And then the question always comes up, why'd you wait that long to throw deep to Jerry Porter?
Absolutely. Bucks send everybody, and Gannon goes down in the arms of Simeon Rice, almost untouched around the corner.
And when he gets untouched around the corner, his first step is so quick, and then he gets right into that second, third, and fourth. Once Simeon Rice, he's darn near in a sprinter stance there. Now, if you try and block him, Barry Sims gets out there a little late, but he's way too quick for that. I mean, there's no way that you're going to be able to step inside and then step back outside and ever get Simeon Rice. There's a guy that's had a heck of a year. You know, there's Simeon Rice. Remember when he was in Arizona and people weren't sure, and then he came to Tampa and he was kind of, you know, pretty good, but, you know, not big enough to play the run and didn't do all those things. This year he has been a complete player.
And let's, on the subject of receivers and Jerry Porter, here's Lynn Swann.
Well, Al, thank you very much. Remember back in the AFC Championship game, I know you do, John, we were watching it together. We watched Jerry Porter drop a pass in the end zone. You recall that play?
Right.
Well, during the week, I talked to Jerry Porter and I asked him what happened on that play. He's such a sure-handed guy. He said, Swan, I looked down to see where I was on the football field, took my eye off the ball. I said, well, now what do you think after you've had that experience? He says, in the same situation, I'll never take my eye off the ball. Right there. That's a market receiver that's going to get better year after year. In 1 week, he realized, focus on the ball, you make the catch, keep your body in bounds, it's a touchdown.
You know, John, you're talking about the future, too. I mean, and Porter clearly is, but the Raiders are going to have to really cut and pare here in the offseason because they're going to be millions of dollars over the cap as the line drive kickoff is taken at the 7-yard line. And this is Dwight Smith running it back up to the 30. Well, we have John Lynch mic'd up, and let's check in and find out what was going on.
Yeah, pump. I'll tell you one thing. I remember when I got out of coaching and came up to the booth, and then a couple years later I went down on the sideline in a scrimmage. I forgot how hard they hit. You know, when you're up here and it looks like they're just taking guys down, when you get down there in the field and you hear it, you know that's some hit.
And there's a flag coming in as Pittman picks up a couple. I thought that that earlier mic'd up with Lynch, and this was a hole here against Tampa, was the most revealing thing we heard from the mic'd up today when he said that, you know, they're running every play we practice against.
67 offense, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
And part of that is Jon Gruden and kind of knowing that offense and knowing the philosophy. And a big part of it is Monty Kiffin, the old defensive coordinator, who always has his team ready to play. I mean, you look and you talk about a guy that has never drank decaf in his life, who is always up, who's always, you know, coaching and teaching and has chairs and stuff out there. That's what Monty Kiffin.
1st and 10 from the 21 after the holding call. Pittman on that mic'd up, and we get a lot of publicity about it this week, having the opportunity to mic up Lynch and mic up Rice, and not play it live. We listen to it and then, you know, figure out what you can and can't hear. Jerry took his mic off. Second half, he said, "Enough of this stuff."
Yeah, I think that's okay when you're winning. I think the stuff that goes on a losing sideline and a losing bench is a lot of frustration that maybe they don't want you to hear, nor do they want to hear themselves. Now on this side here, this is going to get better and a heck of a lot happier if they keep going this way.
2nd and 18 from the 23. Romanowski's had a fairly silent day. One of the few times the play clock has gone all the way down. And it's out to the 27-yard line for Pittman. You know, John, I begin to wonder sometimes, what do certain people think? I'm wondering right now, what is Tony Dungy thinking? What is Bill Parcells thinking? What would John McKay, the late John McKay, have been thinking right now?
Well, I think John McKay would be happy as heck because his son, Rich McKay, is here, and he really didn't want Rich to go into football, but if you're going to, then go in, put everything in there and do this. Bill Parcells is probably thinking, if I were going to go back, if I knew I was going to go back into it, I'd rather be here today than where I am. And Tony Dungy probably has to be thinking, geez, maybe if they just gave me one more year, this would be me.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty bittersweet for Tony. I mean, who really molded this team and then watched Gruden get him over the top. And there's a flag here as the third period has 9 seconds left. John McKay, of course, with an offside against Oakland, was the original coach after a great career at USC. And out of the womb, this team, as an expansion team, was 0-26.
Offside defense, number 50, 5-yard penalty, replay third down.
Eric Barton, of course, Johnny, McKay had the greatest of all lines. You know, one time after one of those losses, the reporter said, "What do you think of your team's execution?" He said, "I'm all for it."
Yeah, that was John McKay. You know, they talk about guys with great one-liners, and John McKay was that guy. But I'll tell you another thing. I played for John McKay one year, and I knew him as a coach and a friend. And he was he was a brilliant football coach.
No question. Not a single snap on either side. 3rd and 9, and here's Pittman, and he gets stopped here. So the Raiders were able to stop him. We'll get the ball back.
Well, you can tell what Jon Gruden's doing here. He's trying to run time off the clock. I mean, he's got, and that's what he is, and that's what he does. I mean, he gets a lead, and then he sits on it and tries to run the clock out.
Coaches talk about balance. 31 running plays for Tampa tonight, 30 passing plays.
And they're going to end up a lot of unbalanced because he'll run the rest of the game.
And that is blocked, and that's exactly what the Raiders need, if anything, to get back in the game. And it's taken into the end zone by Eric Johnson for a touchdown. Well,
now he's not going to sit on that lead. Yeah, we talked about momentum changers, and somewhere you have to come up with a momentum changer, and it usually comes on a special teams play. It can come on a return, it can come on a block. This one here, it comes on a block. What's number 51? You're going to see him right here. He's the guy, he gets his right hand up. Johnson gets his right hand up, knocks it over, doesn't catch the ball, but they get it and have a convoy going into the end zone.
Well, the Bucs have their Johnson to Johnson, and so do the Raiders. Tim Johnson to Eric Johnson.
Tim Johnson tried to find it and couldn't, and he was looking for it. Eric Johnson found it. That's what a special teams coach does after they get that play that does change the momentum.
It was Bob Casulo exultant on the sideline. Tupa did not have a punt block all season, and now the Raiders will go for 2.
Yeah, the Raiders had a punt block last week. I mean, it wasn't a block. I mean, the punt block was on. The punter had to hold it, and they got the ball there. And that was a momentum changer for him last week, too, against Tennessee.
So 14-16 remaining. We've gone from 34-3 to 34-15 and maybe 17. The 2-point conversion. Gannon, and throws it out of the back of the end zone. Intended for Tim Brown. So again, they fail on a 2-point. The margin is now 19. Now the question arises, John, do you at this point attempt an onside kick?
No, I would think not. I would think if the Raiders were to kick an onside kick, they'd play right into Tampa Bay's hands, because if Tampa Bay were to get the ball here, they could just keep pounding the rock. I think I'd kick them deep, try and stop them deep, and play a field position game that way.
Agreed. Yeah, what they need is a 3-and-out now, or create a 3-and-out as Aaron Stecker brings it back, and he gets tackled at the 23-yard line. And you can log on right now to superbowl.com, cast your vote for tonight's MVP, and then there's no, at this moment, clear-cut choice.
But you would think if the game continues to go this way, it has to be a Tampa Bay defensive player,
right,
because up until now, they've really set the tone. But as they say in golf, there's a lot of golf left to be played. There's some football left to be played here.
There is.
But I think if the Bucs want to go conservative, I think that's why you want to kick them down here. Let them be conservative here, and you'll get good field position. If you want to open it up, then you're looking for a pick.
Huge defensive stand for the Raiders here. And it begins very nicely for Oakland as Pittman gets knocked down. And finally, the emotion. You can see the emotion among the defenders.
Well, you can just feel it, and you can even look across at their bench now. I mean, more players are starting to stand up. They're starting to get into this game, and you wonder if it's just too much too late. But now you can see that Tampa Bay has to make a decision here. Do you want to stay conservative and play this clock game here, or do you want to try and get first downs?
2nd and 9 from the 2nd and 10 from the 24-yard line. Johnson underthrown, but Johnson is there to kneel down, make the catch, and Rod Woodson finally knocks him out of bounds, but not until he picks up a first down.
There was no one out there on Keyshawn Johnson. The corner blitzed from that side, and there was no one covering Keyshawn Johnson. That was a heck of a thing by Brad Johnson to see that he looks, the corner comes off, and Keyshawn Johnson was out there all by himself. Look at it out here. You see, he sees the blitz. Charles Woodson comes, and because number 24 Woodson comes, he was the guy that was on Keyshawn Johnson, so there was no one on Keyshawn Johnson.
And Charles Woodson on that blitz, no factor at all. From the 42-yard line. Pittman. Anthony Dorsett first to hit him. Short gain.
And you wonder about that play. You wonder if the Raiders really needed that. You know, if they needed to bring that corner off the corner to give them that play. And here's the play that I'm talking about. Is you just go, you see the corner, Charles Woodson coming from that side, and there was no one out there at all on Keyshawn Johnson, the closest guy being Rod Woodson.
And that's a great point. I mean, strategically, why do you send a guy with a plate in his leg in that situation on a blitz?
I don't think they needed that.
2nd down and 8 from the 44-yard line. Brad buying time, chased by Cooper, throws, and that's incomplete. 3rd down.
Because I'll tell you what that play did. I mean, that, you know, now it's time and it's field position and those kinds of things, and it gave the Bucs some better field position, which if they do turn the ball over or do have to, you know, have a change of possession and punt it, the Raiders' field position is not going to be as good.
Now Chuck Bresnahan's defense trying to get the ball back after Tampa Bay picked up a quick first down.
He has defenses all over himself, doesn't he? He has him on a card. He has him up and down his arm. He could look at any of his body parts or in front of him.
3rd down to play. 3rd and 8.
Yep.
Chris Cooper came across. Was he induced? No.
Encroachment, 75, defense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Oh, baby, you go from 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 3.
And this is another stupid one. I mean, here he is right here. All you have to do is look at the ball, and you don't move until the ball snapped. I mean, there's no way that you can line up on the ball and do that. You know, I mean, those are things that as a coach or an ex-coach drive you nuts.
That would drive you nuts.
Yeah, he's right there. The ball's right in front of him. All you have to do is watch the ball, go in the ball.
So the 3rd and long, 3rd and 3 now from the 49-yard line. They get pressure on Johnson. He has to throw off his back leg, and not even close. And with Charles Woodson covering on the play, there is a flag on the play. Thought I saw a flag, and now it's confirmed.
Yeah, there was a flag right there where Charles Woodson is.
And now they may say that the pass was not even catchable. They may take the flag away because it's not catchable.
Pass interference, 24, defense, automatic first down.
Wow. See if this is catchable to begin with.
Yeah, you see, here's Keenan McCardell, and it's a little stop and go. And what they do is that's what they try to do to Charles Woodson, and that ball was out of bounds.
Oh, man. I mean, it's not a catchable ball.
Yeah. Now, if they were going to call something, oh, look when that flag came out. I mean, he could have called holding maybe earlier after 5 yards, but pass interference. I mean, there's no way right there. Let's say that left hand or that right hand up there on McCardell was pass interference. The ball was thrown out of bounds.
Absolutely. If you're wondering, can you review whether it was thrown out of bounds or not? No, that's not a reviewable play. 16-yard penalty, 35-yard line. Pittman, big juke step, stutter counter move, and finally James hauls him down at the 11-yard line.
And it started with those 2 penalties. Started with the offsides, and that gave him that 3rd and 3, and then the pass interference penalty. And now Jon Gruden is in the position that he wants to. Now, again, he can pound the rock. He can just run it at him. He can run time off the clock because he has the field position to do it, and that's exactly what he's doing. Get the ball out there to Pittman, get out there on that edge. And I'll tell you, this is one of the teams that pulls their center. Watch Jeff Christie. He's coming out here. He's the center right here. You see, he not only pulls, but right there he's going to get a block. Or he's going to miss a block right there. But Jeff Christie, I think, was one of the first centers to ever pull and one of the better centers at pulling.
Pittman over 100, now at 120, and here's Alstott to the 9-yard line. And for the Raiders, this is a nightmarish series. You start with an ineffective corner blitz. You then have a penalty that goes from 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 3. You then have an interference call, and you then have Pittman break one.
And the big thing was right after they had the momentum change. I mean, that was when they got back into the game with the punt block and the touchdown. Now their defense has to go out and do the job, and their defense has kind of let them down.
2nd down and 8.
Jon Gruden is going to run this ball and take time off the clock.
Toss to Pittman. Slips down. Stopped at the 11. 3rd down.
Yeah, I was talking about Jeff Christie earlier. I remember when he was the All-Pro center from Minnesota, played for the Vikings there for years. And I think when Brad Johnson started going and passing, and the offensive line started running a little better, I think he was a pretty important part of that.
3rd and 10 from the 11. Out into the flat, Alstott. He's taken down by James, so they'll have to settle for a Gramatica field goal attempt of about 28 yards or so.
I think the way Jon Gruden's playing the game now, it's a game of clock. It's a game of score and clock, and rather than forcing anything, doing anything stupid here, he wants to take as much time off that clock as he can, and then take the field goal and just play from there.
And they'll take all the time off the clock they can prior to this attempt. 27 yards. 2 for the hole. They snap this with the play clock at 3, and then it's juggled. Is it Yepremian in disguise? No, he just falls on it. I'll bet you Garrow came into his head at that point.
I bet you Garrow came into everyone's head at that point. But at least he just went down. There was no way that he was going to throw that.
Gramatica can't kick the field goal, doesn't even have the opportunity, and now Gannon at the 22. 3 receivers bunched to the left. Gannon throwing to the left. Back to the tight end, Jolly reaches for the 1st down, a little short, 2nd and 1, and the Raiders now have to go quickly.
One of the good matchups today has been Warren Sapp against Frank Middleton. Frank Middleton, played for Tampa Bay, and they kind of know each other, practiced against each other. And Warren Sapp's a lot quicker than Frank Middleton is, but Frank Middleton's a pretty tough guy.
2nd and 1, and they throw it to Wheatley coming out of the backfield, and Wheatley has the 1st down. They maneuvered their way up to the 38-yard line.
Yeah, I was looking at this play. It was just 2 plays ago, and you can see what I'm talking about. Middleton, watch Middleton here on Sapp. He's gonna go, and he gets a push, and then he's gonna grab him around the neck, just right there, and bring him back in. Frank Middleton has it. You do anything you have to the guy in front of you, but don't let him get to your quarterback.
Injury time out here. Shelton Quarles, the Tampa linebacker, is the injured player.
Warren Sapp was telling us the other day. He said, so I've been here for 8 years, and he said we laid some hard bricks. And he said, we want to win a Super Bowl. And one of the big things he wants is, he said, they call Tampa Bay like Tampa Bay, Tampa Town. He said, I want a city. He said, if we win the Super Bowl, I want Tampa Bay to be called a city. He said, we want to represent a city.
And people to know it as Tampa, because ever since they started getting a collection of sports teams, they name it Tampa Bay. The city is Tampa. The area is Tampa Bay, for what it's worth. Not much. We'll be back. Injury time now.
John went to Stanford as a quarterback, was a baseball pitcher there.
Was drafted by the Florida Marlins, and actually threw the first pitch ever in a minor league game for that organization as the pass by Gannon is tipped. Quarles came out. That's Warren Sapp tipping it. You saw Quarles, who was hurt. He was assisted off the field, and Nate Webster is in at linebacker for him.
Yeah, we talked about the Buccaneers in this base defense, and what they've been doing all night is with the 5 defensive backs. Here's Rondé Barber again coming off the slot. He's been on the slot all night, which is really like a linebacker. So they're playing like 4 defensive backs, and the 5th defensive back, Rondé Barber, is playing like the weak side linebacker.
2nd and 10. And that is caught by Jerry Rice, but only up to the 41-yard line. 3rd down coming up, under 8 minutes remaining.
You know, we're talking about John Lynch and when he came in the league from Stanford and all that stuff, and he said that Brad Culpepper told him once, he said, you know, remember Brad Culpepper used to play defensive line for the Bucs. He said, you come into this league with a silver spoon in your mouth and you make it in the NFL, then you've done something.
Yeah. He did it. 3rd and 7 from the 41. Gannon, second off, working the progressions, and then finally finds the open guy, and it's Jolly who got away from Barber, and that's a first down at the 46-yard line.
You see the difference in pass protection or in no pass protection. I mean, earlier, or the whole game, Gannon has had no protection and not been able to get rid of him. And this last play, I mean, he has all kinds of protection. And then you give Rich Gannon or any quarterback in the NFL this kind of time, he's going to make completions.
From the 45-yard line now. Corner blitz, look out, here comes Barber, and he got there just as the pass was released, intended for Jerry Rice. They just disguise it so well, John. The linemen back off, everybody's coming from all these different angles.
Yeah, and that's the thing that is so tough. I mean, here's a corner, and he's coming from this position here, and I think that's a problem with playing 3 wide receivers. Is you bring nickel, then nickel brings Rondé Barber as a slot corner, and as a slot corner, he is a great blitzer from that backside, just like that.
2nd down and 10 from the 45-yard line. And that's incomplete, and there is a flag down.
The flag looks in the area of holding, doesn't it? Offensive holding.
Holding, 65, offense, 10-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
Barry Sims. Well, Jerry Rice limited to 2 grabs, 9 yards. Brown caught that one pass early for a first down. That was almost a highlight offensively of Oakland's first half. So you have 3 catches for the 2 guys who will each be a first ballot Hall of Famer for 18 yards.
Yeah, and again, part of that was coverage. You know, they've just been playing the nickel defense, that soft cover 2 zone. And the big part of it, again, was a pass rush and not let Gannon do what he wanted to do to get the ball to Rice and Brown.
2nd and 20. The Raiders have not run a single running play in this half. And, of course, the score has dictated that for the most part. They were down 20-3 at the half, and there's a sidearm sling to Garner, and he gets forced out of bounds at the 48-yard line. About 13 yards shy of the first.
You know, we were talking about Rich Gannon and how he throws the ball from different angles. And here's that sidearm one, you know, where he has to do it. He's getting a rush, and he has to find Charlie Garner and get a lane to it. But you see, he's looking here, and he's looking for his lane, and he's going to find it out there to the right. See it? And as he sees it, then he has to just put it out there.
3rd and 13. Deep. Open is Rice. Touchdown. Whoa, baby. 48 yards. Wouldn't this be something?
I'll tell you again, Jerry Rice is the inside receiver, and he just runs right down the slot. We're talking about that soft zone. Here's Jerry Rice. He's going to come down and run a post. He just runs right through the zone. There's no bump or anything. He has 2 safeties on either side of him. He gets behind those 2 deep safeties, and Rich Gannon hits him perfectly. Again, it's a, why didn't you do that sooner?
So it's 34-21. They'll try to shave it to 11. Two-point conversion. And it's Porter. Was he forced out? They're going to say no. He was out. And the back judge is there saying no, sir. Nate Webster made contact with him, and now they'll congregate and determine whether he was forced out. But the back judge is emphatically saying, And the back judge, Don Carey, saying no, sir, and also there is a flag down.
Again, if the receiver is up in the air and he is pushed out of bounds, if he's in bounds when he catches a ball, and if his both feet are off the ground like that and he is pushed out, then that would be a completed pass. That should be challenged.
Going to check to see if this is even reviewable. It's not a flag. What was thrown out is the challenge flag. This is actually not reviewable. The act of forcing a player out of bounds is not reviewable. One of the little crazy permutations, and the Raiders are being told that right now.
And that is a crazy one because they put the instant replay in for boundaries.
Yep.
And to me, this would come under the rule of boundaries.
Well, there's Fred Biletnikoff going wild, but this is, by rule, you can't review this.
If you could review that, that would have been a two-point play. Because if he's up in the air and would have been in bounds and is knocked out of bounds, then that would be 2
points. The ruling on the field that the receiver caught the ball in bounds. We'll review the play.
Well, they can review that, but we've already been told by Mike Pereira that they can't challenge a force out. So clearly he's out of bounds. The Raiders are going to challenge. I mean, if this is the rule, I don't know what they're challenging here because there's nothing to challenge. You can't challenge the force out part of it.
Yeah, but that comes up all the time, Al. I mean, they say they can challenge things and they say they can't, and then they always challenge things that they can't challenge, and sometimes don't challenge things that they can.
Well, we've already heard from Mike Pereira, who's the head of officials, who says you cannot challenge a force out. So if they're going to challenge he came down in bounds, clearly it's not even close. He did not come down in bounds. And what you're doing here, if you use the challenge, is you're costing yourself a timeout.
Yeah, but then Bill Carollo should have told Bill Callahan. He should have told Bill Callahan that you can't challenge force out.
Absolutely. I'd be surprised if he didn't, because I mean that's part of what you have to do. Because if Callahan says I'm challenging that he was in bounds, then Carollo's got to tell him you can't challenge a force out.
And I would be surprised if Callahan would think that he was in bounds.
Right.
I mean, so if he's challenging, he has to say that he was forced out of bounds.
After reviewing the play, it was determined the receiver caught the ball in the air. However, he did not get either feet in bounds. Therefore, the play stands as called incomplete pass.
Well,
the point is no good.
He didn't get either feet in bounds.
Yeah.
Charged with a timeout.
6:06 remaining, and again, in checking with Mike Pereira, the official Bill Carollo would have told Bill Callahan you can't challenge the force out part. Bill wanted to challenge the fact that maybe he had come in. So at that point, what you're doing is you're challenging with your heart.
Right, or someone told him to challenge and didn't know you couldn't challenge the force out.
Onside kick by Janikowski? No. They'll send it deep and try to create a 3 and out.
Well, that's a live ball.
Yes, it is. Not any longer. Carl Williams downs it in the end zone.
I'll tell you, if there's going to be any kind of miracle, the Raider defense has to step up right now and make some plays and not allow a first down here.
1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Stop him on 1st down. Pittman through the middle, stopped by Travion Smith.
Yeah, and by here I mean this set of downs. I mean this 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, they have to stop them and get the ball back. Then they have to get a score. Then you can start, talking about onside kicks and those kinds of things. is so true now in all sports that leads don't mean what they used to. Remember, in basketball, a lead would mean something. In baseball, you get a 7 or 8 run lead, the game was over. And football, you get a couple touchdown lead, the game was over. Not in these days.
This looked like a lot, though, I've got to say, about a half hour ago. This is Pittman. And now it's 3rd down. Can they stop him here? 3rd down and 7 from the 23-yard line. And Johnson throws. It's Alstott, and that's a huge first down.
And that's the guy that you want to get the ball to out in the flat if you need that first down, because Alstott can get out there in the sideline and run it like a fullback. And that's exactly what he does here. You get him out in the flat, you see he's the fullback, they start on play pass, here he comes out here, he gets that ball. Right now he turns into a fullback. And he just knows where that marker is, and he gets up past the marker and gets the first down right there.
At the 32. Pittman. At 3rd and 7, I mean, you think about it, if nothing else, it's worth about 2 minutes to Tampa, because that's about what it would take to run the 3 extra plays.
Right, and Jon Gruden is going to do that. I mean, he's going to use all that time because, you know, he knows how to do these kinds of things. And the Raider defense needed a play. They didn't get it. I'm not sure exactly what that timeout was either.
Neither do I. They lose it.
They're just getting tired. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough guys in there, because the guys that they have in there right now on defense are awfully tired.
And now they have 1 timeout plus the 2-minute warning. 2nd down and 10 from the 32. Pittman again. Bunched up. Travian Smith.
Now we come up to another big 3rd down play.
And the Raiders are going to take a timeout here as well. So, well, it's Cooper.
And they did the same thing. It's the 2nd time. I mean, they took the timeout right after the play this time, and the last 3rd down, they took the timeout right after the play.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out this utilization of timeouts here.
I mean, I can't figure out any reason that they would have taken a timeout each time after 2nd down, because I don't think it was a substitution
Ball we put in
thing.
play, and we'll wind the clock. Oakland has 2 charged timeouts, 1 remaining.
All right, so what they've done here is they've taken, since the injury superseded the timeout, they can get the timeout back, and they'll wind the clock, and that's exactly what the case is. Like, that's why I couldn't figure this out. I mean, I'm looking at Cooper rolling around and saying, what are you taking a timeout for?
I thought they took the timeout before Cooper rolled around.
Well,
or maybe it was a simultaneous thing.
Yeah, the injury actually superseded the timeout, so they get a break here. Then the clock gets wound down from 25 seconds, and here we go on 3rd and 9.
But I still don't know why you would have wanted to take a timeout had they given you the timeout had it not been superseded.
All I know is that the defense has to stop here for the Raiders to have a decent chance. Pittman around the bend, and then he's taken down. It's a great tackle by Eric Barton. And in comes the punting group.
One of the things this year that has seemed fouled up in a lot of games to me is clock management. You know, and using timeouts and using things, you know, when you didn't need them, and then, you know, you get to the point at the end of the game when you really need them, and then you don't have them and time runs out.
Sure. So right now they have 1 plus the 2-minute warning. Tupa had his last punt blocked, fumbled a snap on the field goal. Raiders looking for the block. Here they come. Can't get there. 22. Darian Gordon looking for room. Nothing but red shirts. And that's 26.
That's the problem with a punt block. When you don't get the punt block, then you don't have any blockers downfield, and you're really not going to get a return.
Here comes Lynch. Here's the most recent mic'd up with John.
We're going to be fine. Nothing cheap, but we got to stay alive on the rush. Don't let him step up. That's what I'm saying. No way they'll beat us if we don't give them anything up top, and the rush is very important, okay?
But they did give him something up on top, and that was a Jerry Rice thing. You know, that's what Monty Kiffin just told you, keep the pass rush going. Don't let him step up. Don't give him anything up on top. And they let Jerry Rice run right through the post on him.
74 yards from the end zone with 2:44. Gannon to the outside. Rice and out of bounds, shoved out right at the marker by Dwight Smith. 4 catches. And the clock keeps running, so they said that the play ended with a tackle inbounds. 1st and 10 from the 37. Gannon. And down he goes. Nobody home. Secondary does his job. Stopped at the 38-yard line. Trying to get a play off before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, he had Jerry Rice there. He had Jerry Rice open in the middle and didn't see him. I think if the Raiders can get another 1st down here, they can take another shot at the post because you can get in there on this defense now.
At the 2-minute warning now, the ball is at the 38-yard line. Tampa Bay up by 13. 2nd down and 9 upcoming for Gannon and the Raiders. One Oakland timeout left.
I just had a vote for the MVP of the game, Al.
And?
I'm not going to say it. I don't know, because we still have horse trailer, we still have all that thing. And it's probably not going to be the player I voted for anyway.
Did you put it in pencil?
No, I put it in pen. It's gone. It's already done. It was whisked away.
2nd down and 9. Gannon under pressure. Look out from behind. Sapp. Ball loose. Raiders recover at the 31-yard line, but a huge play. Mo Collins winds up with the football, so the Raiders still have it.
You know, the first guy that flushed him out, though, we talked about flushing and making him move and getting him out of the rhythm, was Simeon Rice. And just watch here. He's going to come from right here. And you see again, he just takes the inside on Sims and he goes right through Middleton, goes right through that double team.
3rd and 18, and this is going to write a finish. Derrick Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns in the regular season, does it to cement the Super Bowl. Well, could there be a better way for the Buccaneers to put the ultimate exclamation point on it than the #1 defense with the #1 defender intercepting a pass and taking it to the end zone?
You know, and that's what Derrick Brooks does. That's what Rich Gannon was worried about. He knows that that they just sit there and they squeeze things, and the guy that squeezes things is Derrick Brooks. He didn't get him until the last 2 minutes, but he finally got him. And that was right after I voted for the MVP.
Uh-oh.
Hey, let me have that back. I started to show you Simeon Rice is who I voted for, by the way.
A bunch of guys on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it has to be a defensive guy. I mean, it was funny, we talked about this earlier. When we asked Jon Gruden, who do you think is going to make a big play and win for you in the 4th quarter? And he brought up my defense.
He said they're like a great closer in baseball. 4 picks of Gannon tonight.
And this is what they do so well. I mean, they're back now because they know they have to pass so Brooks can get his depth. And again, he's just watching the quarterback all the way. So he just drops, reads, and then squeezes. That's the thing. You expect him to be out there in the left, and when you throw the ball, he ends up right in the middle of the field. They think he's going to be out there by the numbers, and he does that better than anyone. He's out there by the numbers, and then he squeezes in, and that's where he gets his interception. And the funny thing about it is the Raiders knew that was going to happen. Jon Gruden, I think, knew that was going to happen.
A year ago, Gruden is the coach of the Raiders. He has 1 year left on his contract. Remember Tampa Bay, we mentioned before, when Parcells spurned them, they looked at Oakland first. And it's my understanding the Raiders wanted about $15 million. And Tampa said no. And then they went out and they, as you look at the papers and the T-shirts, then they looked at Marvin Lewis, didn't sign him. They looked at a couple of college coaches. They went to Mariucci. And then one of the things is when Mariucci was thinking about going to Tampa, and Oakland thinks about the fact that Gruden plays out his contract and goes to San Francisco, that, I think, forced the issue, and Tampa and Oakland were able to come to an agreement with how Gruden would wind up going to Florida.
Right, and the Glazer family was really looking like they didn't know what the heck they were doing, and they come out and they made this move, and it was worth every penny. I mean, if you could give those draft choices and that money to get this guy who could bring his team in this position and win a Super Bowl, he is worth everything they pay him and everything they gave for him.
They look like the Keystone Cops, and now they're going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy in a few minutes. 18-yard line. Marcus Knight brings it back up to the 27. Well, we pick up tomorrow's paper. They will be the champions.
And Warren Sapp is going to have something to say about that. And I think that's a legacy that they were talking about. If we have a great defense, we're not a great defense until we win a Super Bowl. We win a Super Bowl, then we're all kinds of champions.
Screen dropped. Well, John, it won't be long because you're going to be second on this list, and there it is. Gruden will become the youngest man to coach a Super Bowl champion. You were a little bit more, 40 3/4 years old, 26 years ago?
Well, and congratulations to Jon Gruden, because I know how it feels. I mean, once I said in your life, it's the biggest thing that can ever happen to you. Maybe just in your football life, but this is a thing that you have now and you will have forever.
Jolly up to the 33-yard line. So still the youngest coach in the league. Here comes the bath. That feels a little bit better tonight than it did last week in Philadelphia, when he got the bath and then he had to stand out there for about 12 more minutes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you another thing. A Super Bowl bath is better than a championship bath.
Especially in San Diego. Rice taken down by Corey Ivy. So the Buccaneers win the NFC South. Brad Johnson, at one time Minnesota's starting quarterback, then he's Washington's starting quarterback. And remember, it looked for all the world he was going to go back to Baltimore when he was a free agent a couple of years ago and signed with Brian Billick, but they only offered him 1 year. He said, I've got to go down to Tampa. Starts with a defensive coach in Dungy. Then he gets Gruden. He says, John, he's brought out the best in me.
Isn't that something when the winning quarterback can pick up his son and says, who loves you, and give him a kiss?
Oh, man.
I mean, that's what, when you get in this situation and it's going to be the best time of your life, you really want to make a memory. And I think that's what Brad Johnson is doing right now. I think that's what all the Buccaneer players and coaches and fans and everyone, you have to remember this all your life.
That's tipped, and that's a 5th pick of the game by Dwight Smith. And again, Dwight Smith is going to take it down the sideline into the end zone. Wow. Just as I'm learning that Dexter Jackson has been named the most valuable player of the game for his 2 picks, Dwight Smith gets his second and his second touchdown.
And I'll tell you, and he's playing because, again, that's the defense that the Bucs played this whole game was 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs, and Dwight Smith was that 5th or extra defensive back.
So what do we do? Have a recount?
Yeah, send those votes back. I'll vote for Dwight Smith. No, but I still stay with mine. I mean, Dexter Jackson, and congratulations to him and everyone. But this thing was won and controlled by the defensive line. That's where it all started for this Buck team.
And I know it's Florida, and I know it's hanging chads and all that stuff, but Jackson's 2 picks were hugely important. I mean, this is a cosmetic pick right here by Smith.
Yeah, but and my guy, Simeon Rice didn't make it, did he? But my guy, I mean, he raised havoc the whole game. I mean, and the big thing he did, he worked over there on Barry Sims, and he gave him a speed rush. But the thing that I liked about it, he took the inside a lot today. And when Simeon Rice takes the inside, he reminds me a lot of Charles Haley. You know, Charles Haley was one of the best natural pass rushers I've ever seen, because he would always take the inside hard.
Here's Gramatica now for the point after.
Gramatica jumped. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, he jumped and hurt his knee, and then he wasn't jumping anymore. You know, he'd just go through a little celebration. That time he said, "What the heck?" He jumped.
One more mic'd up from John Lynch. Here it is.
Run game! We're world champs, baby! Give me this! Give me this! Woo! Yeah! Woo!
So sedate when you see him, and all of a sudden, you know that old oxymoron, clean dirt? That's what John Lynch is. And then out in the field, he's a wild man. He's a hitter. He's all those things. And Jon Gruden, like I says, you have it, and you'll have it for the rest of your life, and they can never take it away from you.
Well, Malcolm Glazer and